Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. Lord Baroque, what are you doing? What are you doing, Lord Baroque? Oh my gosh. 50? 50? 50 memberships gifted. 50? Thank you so much, Lord Baroque. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Lord Baroque. Very, 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 very generous. Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's a lot of Nesties that, like, we know. A lot of Nesties that we actually know that got memberships. Thank you so much, Lord Baroque. That is so generous as always. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Look at all these new Nesties. Thank you so much. If you're a brand new Nestie, thanks to Lord Baroque, please give him a big shout out in the chat, please. And if you're brand new, well, I mean, if you got one, give him a shout out. But if you're brand new, please check out your welcome video, which is linked below. And Aquasense, welcome back to Owlette. Nestie Bestie, welcome back to Nestie Bestie. Thank you so much, Aquasense. So I do have a bit of an issue, which is why I was late. People are not voting one entry per person. So it actually drove the responses way over the amount that I had for my account, and the results are locked. So I went ahead and upgraded the account, and I'm going through. I mean, it gives me a lot of information, because now I can run all kinds of reports. So I can see where the multiple responses are coming from and which contestants they're for. So if you are sending out the video to your friends and family, please ask them to only vote once. There is a limit now that I have for what I've paid for the upgraded membership. If it exceeds that limit, I'm not going to be able to get the results. So please just let them know that, okay? And we might have to end voting early. So, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, that's very, very important. Yep. And hopefully, I mean, I think they do let me go in and remove the duplicate responses, but I don't have all kinds of time to sit around and do that. So if you are taking the time to vote, I love it. Please just vote once for each category, once for human created, one for AI created. And if you are asking friends and family to vote also, just ask them to click once, not refresh and go back and, please. Because it even shows me, it shows me everything that I can, what browser is being used, if it's a phone or a computer. So I can tell if it's coming from one household, but it's different, if it's different devices, or if it's all the same. And it gives me the exact time and how long the person spent scrolling through the choices, everything. So I can see there are a lot of duplicate votes. What kind of problem did you have, Raven Lisa? Oh. I might, you know what? I didn't want to have to do it. I might have to. Where they need you to register in order to vote. I might have to do that. I didn't want to have to do that. I didn't think that was going to be necessary, to have you register and enter an email address and then confirm your email and all of that. But I'll keep an eye on things and see. It's only been an hour. It wanted you to sign in. Yeah, it should have you sign in. That's supposed to help eliminate multiple votes, but yeah. Nope, you don't need to vote again. There's plenty of responses. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. It didn't ask you to sign in? Okay. Cheaters never win. I'm telling you, last year there was only one person. There was only one person that happened with, and I had to remove all the duplicates. I'm like, let's play fair, please. Come on. All right. Let me check the security response, the security part. Allow one vote. Okay. Yeah. Verify your identity. I'm gonna switch that on, unfortunately. I don't like websites tracking my email address or when I'm signing in, but there's another level that it could go up to for to pay for the site, and I'm just not willing to go that high. I'm just not. So it's already, it's already a little on the high side, but I figure it's once a year, right? Okay, that's fine, but so let me just turn that on to verify responses, to block multiple responses. Hopefully that'll help. Yeah, I went in just to check like that the polls were working. And it's like your results are locked. Like you won't even be able to see your results because there were too many responses already, which is good. But then I see all the multiple responses. I'm like, dang it. Why can't we have nice things? Why? Why can't we have nice things? Okay. All right. I've turned on security, so you'll have to verify yourself in order to vote. No, it doesn't delete previous votes. No. No, the site is actually pretty good. It looks pretty amateur, but it actually has a lot of features. I'm sure they were lost to Molly. I'm sure they were. Yes, must have been a mistake. Lady Nighthawk, the links are on the video of the pageant itself, linked. So, and I would also just ask, just if you are asking people to vote for you, that's fine. Send them the link to the video instead of just the link to vote, because I would like to try to make up some of the fee that I had to pay. So that would be helpful. All right. How is everybody doing? Hello. Oh, I hope everyone has had a couple of wonderful days in the Chantal verse. I hope. It's been interesting, kinda, sorta. Is there anything specific that you would like to discuss regarding Chantal? I think I do have a live stream. I do, that I removed all of the background audio for that we haven't watched yet. We could do that. Hello again, Rosebud. Hello. So Live on Patrol is going to be back tomorrow. Okay. Well, thank you, Simply Me. I appreciate that. I have all kinds of outfits. You were bothered by the Tracy bullying? Why? She kind of brought it on herself. I watched the whole thing go down. I feel like she brought it on herself. Let's see. What do we have? What is this? All right. Does that one guy we've watched have another Syria video? That's a good question. I have a couple good videos that I've saved for us. We could just do something completely different too, because this is normally our live on patrol crew. So we could do something different altogether. I do have a bunch of saved videos for us. Let's see. Yeah, Brent Tim, huh? Yeah, Brent Tim. We made it! He was live on Instagram the other day. I did not catch him in time. No, he doesn't have a new video. Okay. It's one of those situations where you've been bullied like that, so empathize, but oh, okay, Fallen Angel. Okay. Yeah, did you watch it from when it first got started? Because I feel like, she kind of brought some of that onto herself. Yeah, live on patrol, they have a meeting tonight apparently, so they'll be back tomorrow. I wish you guys could see my bundled up little pup here. Aw. She had a really active day and had a hard time settling, so I wrapped her up. Oh, did you make her a little burrito? Did you make her into a burrito? Oh my goodness. Lovely. She is a burrito currently. I love it. I love it. Okay. I did find a couple of really good channels on Syria. Paw Patrol, thank you so much for gifting one Are You Serious membership. Thank you so much. Thanks, Paw Patrol, and Canadian Geese nesting in the Kia received it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, shall we do a poll of what you would like to do tonight? We can do that. What would you like to watch? Do you guys, what would you like on the poll? What do you guys want? I'm gonna look at my other watch later list. You sent me the burrito paper? The burrito baby pic? I love it. Yeah. Hannah Alonso? No, I have not. What type of content is that? Hello, the den. Influencer. Oh, she covers like MLMs and like crazy influencers and stuff. Nice. That looks good. Oh, yeah. We watched Megan Moon a couple weeks ago. Yep. Put Chantal, World News, General Chit Chat. Okay. Oh no, Tayancita. Okay. I hope you're okay. Do you have the other history stuff we were watching before she started going live and stopping our fun? Yes. I do. All right, we'll just do that. I've got 3 responses. So would you like a Syria update, something about Chantal, or something fun? I do have a couple of videos about Jinn possession that I haven't watched yet that are in my watch later list. Jinn possession in the Islamic world. Some have theorized that maybe Chantal is being possessed by a jinn, jinni. I've got from 5 months ago, new details of Assad's final 24 hours in Syria before his regime collapsed. Okay. All right. Let's see. It looks like you guys are voting for something fun anyway. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be fun, but it'll be different and interesting. Okay, let's do that. And it's from a good channel.
It is that season.
Okay. It's called Let's Talk Religion, so it's not some weird, Well, it's weird. You know what I'm saying. But it's not going to be some really out there, hopefully somewhat unbiased, I guess, is what I'm saying. Okay. Oh. We should probably go through what are the jinn first. We should probably do that first. So we're all on the same page. Let's do that.
With the popularity of...
Okay. We might have already seen this. I don't know. Okay. Let's take a look. All right. And I can give you a Syria update also, of course. I've been keeping a close eye on things, What are the jinn? So the jinn are in the Holy Quran. It's a real thing. It's a real deal thing. And, some people might think of them as like ghosts. In Islam, we don't really believe in ghosts per se. And a lot of activity that may happen, we believe is probably done by jinn and not so much a ghost. Because we believe once you die, that's it. You're not coming back to, to scare your family members. You're once you're gone, you're gone. That's it. So what most people think is a ghost, it may very well be jinn. Okay. All right. Okay, what are the jinn? We'll just do that quickly.
Movies like Disney's Aladdin, the Jinn or genie has become a mainstay creature in the West. They can be found in books, films, video games, and all kinds of media. These beings, perhaps most famous from their frequent appearance in the Arabian Nights or 1001 Nights, have a long and interesting history in the Middle East, one that is intimately connected with the religion of Islam and the pre-Islamic folklore of the Arabian Peninsula. So, for our 2020 edition of Shocktober videos, let's explore the mysterious world of the Jinn. Known in the West primarily as genie, the jinn are associated with humanoid but ghost-like creatures that emerge from magic lamps and grant wishes. And while there is some merit to this view or portrayal of the jinn are actually quite different in a lot of ways than what many of us assume. The name Jinn comes from Arabic and is actually in plural form, the singular of which is usually jinni, making it closer to the genie used in English. The meaning of the word is probably connected to the root form jannana, which has the primary meaning of to hide or conceal. This makes sense, as the Jinn are primarily conceived of as creatures who are hidden from our regular senses and occupy a different dimension of the world. They are sort of invisible creatures. The Jinn originate in Islamic and Arabic folklore. They are mentioned in the Quran as one of three kinds of rational creatures that are created by God.
Yes.
The angels were created from light.
Yes.
The human being was created from clay, and the jinn were created from smokeless fire.
Smokeless
But
flame.
these fiery, invisible beings predate the religion of Islam and existed as a very prominent and important part of the lives, culture, and religion of the pre-Islamic Arabs. Scholars are unsure about the actual origins of the jinn and where they come from. Some speculate and think that they may have originally been gods in the Middle Eastern, generally the Middle Eastern region, polytheistic gods who were then kind of dethroned as the theology in the region became a bit more complex and other gods took more exalted positions in the hierarchy. Others argue that the jinn were originally conceived of as malicious spirits who wander the deserts and old ruins. What is clear is that they have a very long history. Some scholars indeed argue that we find evidence of jinn-like creatures already in ancient Mesopotamia. In Palmyra, which is modern-day Syria, these kinds of creatures were sometimes called jinni. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this, of course, leads some to argue that the origins of the word may actually be Aramaic, and that the jinn were creatures who were prominent in other cultures in the Middle East, that it doesn't necessarily originate in Arabia itself, but nonetheless, the jinn are most strongly associated with the Arab people and the Arabian Peninsula in general. They are mostly invisible spirits, similar to human beings in many ways, but with powers beyond anything that humans are capable of. They are connected to the desert and may have represented a fear by the local population of the dangers of the desert. The jinn would hide and inhabit dark places in the desert among old ruins.
So this is Petra, Jordan. So Petra, Jordan, this is thought to be made by Jinn. Like actually made by Jinn.
Ruins and cemeteries. They can take on different shapes and forms, including as different animals like snakes, and can come into contact with, influence, and even possess human beings. Indeed, the word for madman or a crazy person in Arabic is usually majnoon, which translates
crazy
to something like possessed by a jinn.
So in Egyptian Arabic, we pronounce the J with a G sound. So magnoon or magnuna means crazy. And that's how I know it, crazy. And Salah was calling Chantal Majnuna the other day. So I didn't know that it could also mean possessed. I just thought it meant crazy. So I wonder what he meant it when he was calling her Majnuna. Crazy or possessed?
Something like possessed by a jinn.
Was.
To both the settled Arabs and the Bedouins, the jinn were a prominent aspect, a prominent part of life and their culture, one that caused people to be careful when they ventured out into the desert or to sort of uninhabited dark places. But it would be beneficial to dispel some common misconceptions at this point. Sometimes people tend to equate jinn with our sort of Western or Christian conception of demons as these evil creatures who are out to hurt us or to do the bidding of the devil. But this is actually not necessarily true for jinn at all, at least not all of them. The jinn are actually more similar to how demons or daimons functioned originally in ancient Greece before Christianity made them an exclusively evil creature. In other words, the Jinn are neither inherently bad or good. They are just like human beings, in fact. They live in societies, they have kings, they have friends, they get married and have children, they even have religions.
Yes.
And
this is so important to know about the Jinn societies, that they're just like us. Some believe in God even, and some don't. Like, some have families. And remember we were talking about a while back how, like, your vibe, basically, right, like, attracts us a similar vibe of a Jinn to you, because Jinn are around us all the time and we can't see them. And we're not supposed to interact with them at all. That's forbidden. So, but you will have Jinn that are kind of coexisting with you. But remember we talked about, oh, where's a Jinn cat named Jinn, or Jinn cat, or whatever, whatever your name is, you kept changing it there. Yeah. Remember we were saying crack house? The crack house Jinn. Someone changed their name to that for a while, crack house Jinn. If you're hanging out in a crack house or a trap house or whatever, you're going to have crackhead Jinn around you. So there's going to be chaos, and you might think, oh, it's a ghost or it's a poltergeist, where really it's just like, it's a crackhead Jinn, because you're a crackhead. So you're attracting that to you. So if you are a pretty calm person, okay, if you keep a calm atmosphere, if you in whatever your beliefs are, you practice your belief, you are attracting that type of Jinn to be in your area, because they're going to be around you regardless. So sometimes when, like, because they're not supposed to interact with us and we're not supposed to interact with them. That's forbidden. But the Jinn are jealous of us to some extent because we have free will, So, I mean, they kind of do too, but it's just like they're jealous of us for some other reason, They think we're, I don't know, something. I don't want to get too detailed because I'm not entirely sure. But sometimes they will try to upset us. So you guys are laughing. So sometimes they can try to upset us. And it will be like a ghost type of activity, right? Where like they'll knock something off a shelf and it upsets you. You get all freaked out like, oh my God. Yeah, they can, Deputy Fluffy Butt Grumpy Fluffy Bunny. Yes, they can. Yes, exactly. Or knock on walls or something because they want to get you all spooked. Okay. So what do we do when that happens? And it depends what your beliefs are. In Islam, we play the Holy Quran, recitation of the Holy Quran. And there are specific surah, specific chapters that we play in succession that specifically drive out the Jinn, the bad Jinn. Like they can't tolerate being in a space where those surahs are being recited. So they'll take off. And it works. It works every time. It works all the time. If you tell them cut it out, will they stop? Not necessarily. They have kind of like the mentality of like a child in a way where, they're just trying to like get a rise out of you. Like they're not necessarily overly malicious, but they're trying to get a rise out of you. So if you're scared, if you're like, stop it, they might just ramp it up. So if you have beliefs, in a higher power, that would be good to call on that. Yes, they can, Just Jamie. That's a really good question. Yes, dogs and pets and cats absolutely do detect Jinn. Yes, if you see a cat or a dog looking off in a corner of your room and you have no idea why, that's actually when I see my dogs do that, I'll say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. And I testify that there is one God and Muhammad is his prophet and messenger. And that eliminates stuff. And even if it's a little too stubborn, then I'll just put on some Holy Quran recitation and it drives it out. But yeah, they can. They absolutely can. Tejoncita says there is a video explaining Catholic exorcism by some guy. Catholics go yeet yeet pretty much with whatever they have at hand, holy water, whatever they have at hand, holy water, a cross, a chancla. Throw your slipper at the Jinn. Are they known to hide things? They can, yes. Because your house is eating things, you're convinced those things no longer exist in this dimension? Oh, wow. Yeah, anything that you might like blame on a ghost, traditionally. And it's like kind of like just kind of mischievous type of, yeah, it absolutely can be. Yes. Yep. When you moved into your first house, you always used to feel a cat jumping on the bed and there was nothing there. Just Jamie, that's spooky. That is spooky. Hey, Saban Nation, I would just say explore everything. Like everything. Because I've had a 13-year journey at this point, and I'm nowhere close to where I was when I was first starting to think about it. And it's a lifelong learning. Talk to all kinds of people. Talk to all different kinds of people. Explore the different sects and everything. Because I did find, we've talked about in the past a little bit, a medheb. And a medheb, I found the teachings within a medheb, which is Islamic jurisprudence, which is law, basically, it's law, that really fit me. I felt really fit me, like to a T. So there's so much to it. No, you definitely can't be spur of the moment, no. But what I did too, when I was thinking about it, I was reading the Quran anyway. I was just interested. I wasn't thinking about reverting. But these questions would pop up in my mind. I'd be like, well, what about this? And I would just pray. I would just pray to God. I would just ask God, like before going to bed, like, can you give me the answer to this question? And like the next day I would be reading and I would find the answer to the question. Like every question that I asked myself internally, I did get an answer for. I didn't necessarily like all of the answers or agree with all the answers, but I did get answers. So, yeah, there's so many different resources. Absolutely. An Israeli researcher mistakenly renamed it Meladera matrida, the new scientific name reflecting the nuisance it brings. You talking about bugs? Well, that's interesting. It is believed that a number of specimens arrived on shipments of pistachios and oil that were brought from Iran, unaware that this beetle was already well known. Beetles, huh? Oh, man. Oh, praying mantis. You know what I was thinking of, Heather? Those plants that eat things. I forget the name of it. Oh, Venus flytrap. I happened upon a channel. The whole channel is watching Venus flytrap plants capturing bugs. How can a plant be so sadistic and hunting? Like, I don't even want to show it to you. Anyway. Hey, Pinky Blue.
Just like human beings, the jinn can sometimes be friendly and helpful, and other times they can be evil, deceitful, and dangerous. So the pre-Islamic Arabs had a strong but varied relationship with the jinn. They could be feared and seen as dangerous creatures who inhabited desolate places, but they could also be helpful and even a source of inspiration. As many of you probably know, poetry was an incredibly developed and cherished tradition to the ancient Arabs, and the jinn played an important part here. It is said that many of the pre-Islamic poets were inspired by jinn to write their verses, almost like in a possession. And here we also find further connection with the ideas of demons or daimons in ancient Greece. The daimons were often seen as the sources of inspiration that could, you could say, be messengers in between the divine world and the human world. And the jinn kind of functioned in a similar way in ancient Arabia. They would function almost like middlemen between the gods and human beings, being able to convey messages through possessing the reciter of poetry. This is also likely why some verses of the Quran claim that Muhammad's enemies accused him of being affected by magic and things like this, as jinn possession and divine recitations were a commonplace in the culture of the time. And indeed, with the coming of Islam through the Prophet Muhammad's recitation of the Quran and the religion's later vast spread, the jinn became not just a creature of local folklore, but as an essential part of a world religion. The Quran, in fact, talks about the jinn on multiple occasions and even has a surah, a chapter named Al-Jinn,
Yep.
meaning the jinn.
The jinn.
So the fact that they are talked about in the Quran seems to many to confirm their existence and also help to spread this mythology to vast areas across the Middle East and North Africa and many other places. But it also placed them in a central role in the drama of the creation of the human being itself.
Look at this guy.
Indeed, the Quran seems to identify Iblis, the Islamic version.
Iblis. Iblis. If you watch Sister Minnie, the cat, you know Iblis. Because she calls Sister Minnie a crazy Iblis when her eyes glow in the dark, the cat. Hey, reality chica. Iblis.
Of Satan as a jinn. Now, some verses seem to imply that he was a fallen angel, like in the Christian narrative, while others claim that he is a jinn, and the later interpretation has probably the most prevalent, or at least some combination of the two. Iblis was a great jinn who led jinn armies in great battles against their enemies. They fought for God, but when God created Adam, the first man, and asked all the angels to bow to him, Iblis refused. And this is the central moment where Iblis is condemned for his disobedience and becomes a shaitan, or Satan. So, according to mainstream Islamic interpretation, Iblis or Satan has a different function than in Christianity. He is not a kind of deity or powerful adversary to God, but he is the king of the evil jinn who leads human beings astray. It was quite easy for the spreading Muslims to incorporate the idea of the jinn into different local beliefs and folklores, the jinn being invisible, ghostly, spirit-like creatures. Shares, of course, just by that fact, a lot of similarities with other similar creatures in different cultures, and so the jinn were often adapted and appropriated into these different cultures. Now, there is said to be different kinds of jinn, not only good jinn and evil jinn, but actually different categories of jinn, you could say. In Robert Liebling's excellent book on jinn called The Legends of the Finer Spirits, he divides the jinn into 5 categories, which are Jann, Jinn, Shaitan, Ifrit, and Marid.
I've never heard of this before.
Important to remember here is that the lines between these are not clear at all. They are sometimes interchangeable,
Spooky
as those of us who have read any literature involving the jinn will surely know. But in a general sense, Jann is the most general term, referring to all kinds of jinn at large. Jinn is used to refer to specific jinn or specific tribes of families of jinn, and these can be either evil or good. So both jinn and jann are very general categories. Shaitan, however, are always evil, thus more akin to demons, as they are the children or servants of the chief shaitan, Iblis or Satan. Ifrits are generally more powerful than shaitan and are sort of more morally ambivalent, but they are mostly evil. We find the Ifrit a lot in the Arabian Nights. They like to hang out around ruins. They're often winged creatures. They can cause things like sandstorms and shapeshift into different animals.
Oh yeah. I remember my former partner talking to me about this. Yeah, these things. Remember that ship graveyard that they went to in Kuwait, where all of those like abandoned ships, they were all rusty and everything. That's like a perfect place for that type of jinn to be hanging around.
And lastly, the Marid are the most powerful kind of jinn, and again are mostly evil.
Okay.
This is the kind of jinn we are most familiar with. The very large wish-granting kind are often a Marid category of jinn. For context, some interpret that in the famous story of Aladdin, there are 2 different kinds of jinn in this story. The jinn of the ring is a type of ifrit, and the jinn of the lamp, who is much more powerful, is a kind of marid. So, of course, in the Disney version, a lot of this isn't there, but in the original version, Aladdin has both a ring that has sort of magical powers and of course, the lamp. And so the jinn of the ring is thought to be an ifrit, and the jinn of the lamp is a marid. There are also further types of jinn and names, including the ghul, which is a type of jinn that
Oh,
likes to
cool.
inhabit cemeteries, can shapeshift, and even eat the flesh of human beings.
Ugh.
Very nasty kinds of creatures, or nasty
Yeah.
kinds of jinn. They are often said to appear as beautiful women to lure men to their deaths. And yes, in case you were wondering, this is actually where the English word ghoul comes from.
Uh-huh.
I actually didn't know this before I researched this video, so this is very fascinating to me. There are also many other kinds of jinn, but not all of which I have time to go through here. But simply put, there are many different kinds of jinn, and the lines between these categories can be very blurry. There are many different myths surrounding the jinn, many of which were spread or written down in a post-Quranic context. One such tale tells how the jinn tribe's original homeland was a mountain called Kaf, standing on the edge of the world. As I've already mentioned, jinn are often connected to certain places. They are said to guard treasures or haunt old ruins. There are many places around the Middle East that are thought to be infested with jinn even today. In modern-day Saudi Arabia, there is a place called Madain Saleh, which are these old ruins from the Nabatean kingdom. This place has long been thought to be inhabited by the jinn. There are even stories about how the Prophet Muhammad himself used to veil himself and walk quickly as they passed the location, telling his companions to avoid it at all costs, because it was haunted, obviously. There is also the famous story of the city of Ubar, also known as Iram of the Pillars, or Atlantis of the Sands, so called by T.E. Lawrence. This is thought to have been this great, beautiful, wealthy city in ancient Arabia that was buried in the sand, hence the name Atlantis of the Sands. Made famous by Lawrence of Arabia, or T.E. Lawrence, who wanted to search for it, as well as the 2011 video game Uncharted 3. The ruins and great treasures of Ubar are said to be guarded by the jinn. There are also very famous individual jinn. Many of these probably appear as the mythology of the jinn spread to new places, and local deities or spirits were incorporated into the mythology of the jinn. One such famous example is a jinn called Aisha Kandicha from Morocco. She has the appearance of a beautiful woman with black hair, the only difference being that she has the feet of a camel.
What?
Like the Ghul jinn, she lures unsuspecting men into the desert to kill them.
Oh my goodness.
Many such stories of individual jinn exist. They can also, as we have discussed, possess people, and there are various ways to exorcise a jinni.
Okay, and that's what we're going to learn about next, when a jinn takes possession of a person and the exorcism of a jinn. The cat is Jinn. We were just talking about you. The cat is Jinn. You're the one that had the crack house Jinn name, right?
The Sufis and holy men and mystics often have a role to play in this. To remain in North Africa and Morocco, for example, one way to exorcise a jinn was to use ecstatic gnawa music. So gnawa music is a kind of North African Sufi music. So this was used often in exorcisms to get rid of evil jinn. It's incredibly interesting. If we then turn to what is probably the most famous example of jinn stories, which is of course the Arabian Nights, or more accurately the 1001 Nights, in Arabic called Alf Layla wa Layla. Here we find a whole host of different tales that includes the jinn. And some of these jinns, like the story of the fisherman and the jinn, are clearly evil and dangerous, while others can be helpful and friendly. In fact, a lot of our conceptions and ideas about the jinn, maybe most of it, comes from the Arabian Nights, or 1001 Nights. This is a very important collection of stories for our understanding of Arabian or Middle Eastern folklore. As the jinn are thought to live in societies just like human beings, the jinn, as I said, also have religions. There are stories about how some jinn would listen to the Prophet Muhammad as he preached, and who later converted to Islam. So there are Muslim jinn, there are also Christian jinn, there are Jewish jinn, and so on. And the jinn are
atheist jinn,
subject
too.
to God's punishment at Judgment Day, just like human beings are. Even today, the jinn are an important part of the culture of the Middle East. We still sometimes hear stories about places that are infested with jinn, people who have been possessed. There was even that Netflix show called Jinn, which obviously wasn't very good at all. But still, there are also many today who are skeptical.
What do you mean, obviously?
About their
Yeah, I'll get you the
existence
link. Yeah.
as such. Many Islamic scholars, for example, favor a metaphorical interpretation or reading of those Quranic verses that talk about jinn, while others very much still believe in them as actual creatures. And this is actually an important part of our discussion. While the jinn feature prominently in Arabic and Islamic history, in different writings, and in general just in the Islamic religion, there has been a variety about how people have understood and interpreted these creatures. While many have traditionally and today seen the jinn as real, actual beings who inhabit the world alongside human beings, others have read things quite differently. There seems to have been some who used jinn to refer to any phenomena or force that was not detectable by the senses. And many of the more esoterically oriented schools of theology or philosophy found interesting ways of doing ta'wil, or esoteric interpretation, on those Quranic verses. For example, the 13th century Persian philosopher Zakaria al-Qazwini wrote that, quote, "Some consider the jinn as unruly men, but these persons are of the Mu'tazila." From this, it seems that some thinkers, in this case from the rationalistic Mu'tazila school of theology, interpret the jinn metaphorically to mean a kind of human being. I'm not going to make things more complicated by discussing theology or complicated.
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea what that is. Debbie says, I don't know if I'm going to say this right. So are they good and bad since they're in all religions? Yes. Yeah, they're just like people. They can be good, they can be bad, they can be, you can have a crackhead jinn, you can have a jinn that's like really, perfect, almost like a perfect angel and worships God. You can have atheist jinn from all different religions. And just like there are as many types of people, there are as many types of jinn. Yeah.
Philosophies, but
I just
want to point out that the jinn have been interpreted differently historically, and today the situation is quite the same.
Yeah, crackhead.
I would go as far as to say that probably the majority of people in the Middle East still very much believe in the jinn as actual creatures. There has been, as a result of different factors like Western-style education, an increasing tendency to be skeptical towards such ideas, seeing it as superstition and whatnot. So it's important to keep that in mind, of course. To sum up, the jinn are, for the most part, invisible spirits created from fire that are similar to human beings, but also have very exceptional powers. They are intimately connected with the desert and the nomadic culture of the ancient Arabs, and they come in a wide variety. Some can help you, others will lure you to your death, but all of them tickle our imagination and serves as a fascinating part of the culture of the wider Middle East. Happy October and happy Halloween, and I'll see you next time.
Scary jinn stories for Halloween, yes. Okay, so this video, this channel is called Let's Talk Religion. And I do like this guy. He's very knowledgeable. He's great. Jinn possession in the Islamic world. Natural Born Collector says, big ups, Scarletter, big ups. Yeah, big. And did I also see you say big ups? Yeah, big ups, crackheads. Yeah, big ups, crackheads too. Yep. Check out Scarletter's channel. She does reactions to Chantal and to ALR. I checked her out today. I'd never seen a live stream before, but I dipped in there today, and it was a pretty good time. It's a pretty good time. Doggy dinner time? Okay, Heather, I get it. Okay.
It's that season again, which means it's time to spook it up here on the channel.
Oh.
And what better way to do that than to dive back into the world of jinn and spirits in the Islamicate and Middle Eastern world.
Let's do it.
We've all watched the Hollywood horror movies that in different ways depict cases of demonic possession. From the classic The Exorcist to the more recent Conjuring movies, it's a topic that keeps fascinating and unsettling people around the world. But these stories are often very Christian-centric in their nature. The demonology that is presented is almost exclusively based on Christian theology, and the solution often involves, at least in some way, things like crucifixes and holy water.
A priest, yeah. Yeah.
Now, there
sure.
have been some diversifying developments, such as the 2019 movie The Vigil, which depicts an encounter with a Jewish possessing spirit called the Dybbuk.
Oh.
But what about the
Oh,
Islamic world
I've
of
heard of
Jinn? To many people, their knowledge of Jinn is limited to genies in movies like Aladdin, and to say the least, this does not necessarily capture the nature and characteristics of the actual Jinn from the Islamic world. And what about possession? Can Jinn actually possess human beings? And if so, are there some interesting or known examples of this throughout history?
Oh, yes. And, you know, as I said, we have at times theorized that Chantal may be possessed by a Jinn, a Jinni. Possibly. We see that darkness sometimes.
Today, we're going to explore the fascinating and really interesting world of Jinn possession in the Islamic and Middle Eastern world.
Okay. This would be a good time, whatever your beliefs are, or if you have no belief, maybe just ask for some, like a white light of protection or something around you. But this would be a good time to call on your higher power for protection while watching this. Whenever I click on anything like this, I always say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and we seek refuge from the accursed Shaitan, Satan. Yes, for God's protection. Shocktober. That's cute. Oh, nice, Saban Nation.
The Jinn are a vast and fascinating group of beings.
Good vibes work, yep.
I've already covered Jinn in a general sense a few years ago, which you can check out if you want a deeper overview. But in shorter terms, Jinn are a group of beings in Middle Eastern and Islamic lore that can take on many different forms and shapes. They appear in the Quran and so have been established as an important component of the Islamic religion, even though they may have been interpreted in different ways. In the Quran it says, quote, "And he created Jinn from smokeless fire."
Yep.
Thus, Jinn are a type of being that exists in the world, created from smokeless fire, and that is distinct from humans who were created from clay and angels created from light.
Right. So there are three creations of God. Three. The angels, mankind, and the Jinn.
Jinn are conceived as creatures mostly invisible to human senses, but they can sometimes become perceivable and even interact with us in different ways.
Yeah. Not supposed
Often, most people will talk about Jinn as exclusively evil creatures, perhaps equivalent to demons in Christianity, but this is actually not accurate.
Right.
Instead, Jinn are actually neutral beings, more similar to how actual daimones in ancient Greece actually functioned, that they could be both evil and good. They're not necessarily one or the other. Jinn have societies of their own. They have families. They even have religions. So there are Muslim Jinn, there are Christian Jinn, Jewish Jinn, etc. And as I said, they can be both friendly or dangerous, both good
Amen,
and
Patricia.
evil. With that said, even in the Islamic world, the Jinn are mostly associated as being evil creatures for the most part, but officially this is the case. Jinn can be both good and evil. In fact, Jinn is sometimes seen more as a kind of umbrella term for all kinds of different beings with characteristics of their own. And under the wider term of Jinn, we have beings that are more exclusively and decidedly evil or dangerous, such as the Ifrit, the Marid, the Ghul, and Shaitan or Shayateen. Indeed, in Islamic theology, it is considered that Iblis, or Satan, is in fact a Jinn. Looking at the folklore of many regions and cultures around the world, we can find many different examples of supernatural beings or creatures that became subsumed under the wider category of Jinn. It is also common to say that the polytheist god of other religions, in other words, false gods according to Islam, are in fact Jinn that humans have mistakenly interpreted to be gods.
Right. Right. So you can see, this is Egypt. This is ancient Egypt. Yeah. And that is what is said. Yeah.
So as you can see, the world
Because people who worship, they thought of them as gods, and people, they pour all of this energy into and worshiping and giving offerings and everything, and it strengthens the jinn, and the jinn would be able to do things. And then they say it's their god.
The world of the jinn is a very large and complex one, but our topic of interest and focus today is more narrow and specific, namely the question about jinn possession. Jinn can be found basically everywhere, but are particularly associated with dark places, with old ruins and cemeteries. Humans can encounter them in different ways, but can they actually become possessed? Well, we have a clue for this in the Arabic word for a madman or crazy person, Majnoon, such as the famous love story of Layla and Majnoon. Majnoon literally means something like possessed by a jinn, and you can tell just by looking at the name and seeing that it has the same three-letter root in Arabic. In fact, the question of jinn possession has been a contested issue among Islamic scholars. Not everyone,
As is everything, as are most things, Islamic scholars will differ on a lot of things.
one agrees that it is a real thing. As an example of a non-skeptic, the famous 14th century theologian and Hanbali jurist Ibn Taymiyyah, often seen as a founding
So this is, he's saying Hanbali, I would pronounce it Hanbali, a Hanbali jurist. So we just talked briefly about a madhab and how there are different madhabs within a sect of Islam. It gets, I mean, you can go as deep as you want with it. And that a madhab is a Islamic jurisprudence or law. And that there are Hanbali, Maliki, which is the one that I most identify with. There are different madhabs, and he is mentioning right now the Hanbali madhab, which is, and they tend to be regional. I wonder if I still have that map, but I showed it on a live stream. I feel like it was 10 years ago now, but they tend to be regional because these imams were giving rulings, because religious leaders, religious scholars will give a ruling on something. And these imams are living in different regions of the world. So the madhab is formed around that imam and their rulings, because a madhab is Islamic jurisprudence or law. So Hanbali tends to be around Saudi Arabia.
figure of Salafism wrote that quote,
We're going there. He's going there. He's going all the way there. Okay. So Salafism, wow, I didn't think we'd get this deep. Okay. So the Salafi are primarily in Saudi Arabia. They're still there. The Salafi, there's a different connotation to the Salafi now than there was many, many years ago. The Salafi, the real, like the actual real translation of, or like how they were thought of as the very first Muslims, the Salafi. Salafi nowadays, in the Hanbali jurisprudence, madhab, is tend to be very, very conservative and very they would have trying to think of a good way to put it. They would have the moral police. Yep, that is the spelling. Yep. They have moral police. So they would have, and I don't know if this is still the same way in Saudi Arabia. It was like maybe 10, 15 years ago, where moral police in Saudi Arabia might see a couple, a man and a woman, walking, holding hands, which you really are not supposed to do there. And they may ask them for their marriage certificate. And if they fail to produce it, they could, like give some corporal punishment right then and there to both of them. That is not how Islam is practiced in the majority of the world. However, the Salafi within the Hanbali madhab may do that. They're extremely conservative. So I wonder where he's going with this. I did not expect this. Okay. Interesting.
Tell just by looking at the name and seeing that it has the same 3-letter root in Arabic. In fact, the question of jinn possession has been a contested issue among Islamic scholars. Not everyone agrees that it is a real thing. As an example of a non-skeptic, the famous 14th century theologian and Hanbali jurist Ibn Taymiyyah, often seen as a founding figure of Salafism, wrote that, quote, "The existence of the jinn is an established fact according to the book, the sunnah, and the agreement of the early scholars. Likewise, the penetration of the jinni into the human body is also an established fact according to the consensus of leading Sunni scholars. The jinni enters one seized by fits and causes him to speak incomprehensible words unknown to himself. If one seized by fits is struck with a blow enough to kill a camel, he does not feel it." On the other hand, there are other major historical Islamic scholars that have denied its reality, such as Fakhruddin al-Razi, the literalist Ibn Hazm, and maybe even al-Ghazali. Ibn Hazm calls it superstition and says that, quote, "Such things are not possible," in other words, people don't fall for it, "except to the weak minds of the elderly. That he, the devil, can speak using someone's tongue is senility and clear insanity. We seek protection in God from deception and affirming superstitions." But regardless, we can be sure that it is and has been a very common opinion that jinn possessions do indeed happen. And there exists and have existed various techniques and traditions related to how to get rid of such spirits through different kinds of exorcism. There are different words for jinn possession in Arabic, one of which is sara', and a person possessed thus becomes a masru'. Another common term is mas, meaning to touch or feel. Just like in a lot of ancient traditions of spirit possession, such as Mesopotamia, the possession of jinn is often connected with disease, especially mental afflictions. If someone shows signs of a mental disorder, this could be a sign of jinn possession. We saw from Ibn Taymiyyah.
Is this why Chantal says that you cannot get escitalopram in Syria? You don't need antidepressants, you need an exorcism. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, you guys are asking really good questions. Your questions bring the topic much, much deeper and further away from jinn. So I appreciate your questions. I will say that yes, in certain societies, Debbie, married couples do have to carry their marriage certificate with them at all times. Yes. Sky Fieri, it is not about Saudi Arabia. It's not about the country or the region. It really gets very, very detailed. It's about I want to find my map about the madhabs. Madhab is law, like Islamic law, practiced by people who followed Imam Hanbali. Those people tended to be in the Saudi Arabian region. The Salafi, and he said this guy was like one of the founding Salafi. The Salafi within the Hanbali law, way of practicing law within Islam, are very, very hard line. And you would really only see that in a place like Saudi Arabia. So it's not about the country. It's more of a way of practicing, but you don't usually see that way of practicing outside of Saudi Arabia. No pop quizzes. No. Scar says, so is it kind of like Catholic is a branch of being Christian, Salafi is a branch of Sunni? No, I would not say that. I would not say that. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. Salafi really goes back to the very, very origins of Islam. And it's very specific. And I wouldn't say that it's a sect or that it's a branch, or they don't consider themselves any of that. It's very specific. And that does go further away from our topic of Jinn, but you guys have awesome questions. Is it a historical thing? It's a real thing. It is a real thing that is still happening today. There are still many Salafi. Many. Yeah. I was just surprised that he brought it up. So he was saying basically this guy who was in the Hanbali Madhab, which is Islamic jurisprudence or law, and one of the founding Salafi, his view of the Jinn, it's like he gave almost too much information, but it's good to have. But his view of the Jinn is that, so they say, he says all that just to say that guy says that, hey, the Jinn, they're real. They're absolutely real. It's an established fact in the Quran and in the Sunnah. And the Sunnah is how the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, lived his life, examples of how he lived his life. And that they're established fact in the Quran, it's in the Sunnah, and the early scholars, which would be within this Hanbali, Salafi, also agreed that the Jinn are absolutely real and that they can get into a person's body and possess them. So we have this very, very hard line, like right down to the basics, like first Muslim, pretty strict. And he's saying it's a thing. He's saying this is absolutely a thing. And then we have these other scholars and people. And this guy says, not so much. That's not possible. And it's really people, the weak minds of the elderly. Okay. So if you're senile, basically, can speak using someone's tongue as senility and clear insanity. If you're old, feeble-minded, and insane, you probably believe in Jinn. So it's just showing how these different people from different, and they're both Muslim, different ways of thinking, have very different ways of thinking about the Jinn. So they disagree on this.
Order, this could be a sign of Jinn possession. We saw from Ibn Taymiyyah's quote that symptoms could include speaking incomprehensible words and of being seized by fits, all of which could be symptoms of some sort of mental disorder. From the earliest recorded periods, we find the idea that Jinn can somehow affect human beings in different ways. The pre-Islamic poets were often thought to get their inspirations from such spirits, which allowed them to compose such beautiful verses. And similar ideas still exist in certain parts of the Islamic world today. So what are some examples of this? In Morocco, there is a famous jinn called Aisha Kandisha. Usually, jinn will be referred to and understood collectively or as a general whole, but there are examples, such as here, of specific individual jinn or with names and characteristics of their own. Aisha Kandisha is a frightening creature that will often take on the form of a human woman and seduce unsuspecting men, either killing and eating them or sometimes even possessing them.
Uh-oh.
Stories about men possessed by Lady Aisha are reported to lose interest completely in human women and suffer various kinds of physical and mental ailments. Another example comes from Central Asian and Kurdish lore, where there is a type of jinn called the Al, which targets women and pregnant women in particular. The Al can steal babies and even the fetus from pregnant women and eat them, which of course reminds us of certain creatures from Mesopotamian lore, such as the Lilitu and the demon Lamashtu. The Al is also said to be able to possess women and make them go insane. Robert Liebling explains, quote, "This can happen when a lonely woman visits a public bathhouse and strikes up a conversation with another lonely woman who happens to be a demon in disguise."
So some people do believe that jinn can kind of like a shape-shifting type thing and take possession of a person's body or appear as to be a human person, and you could be having a conversation with a jinn.
The Al then offers to wash the woman's back. Suddenly, the demon shows its true nature, and the unfortunate woman falls unconscious. When she awakens, she has lost her mind. In some areas where Farsi, the Iranian language, is spoken, such women are called Jinn Zada, offspring of the Jinn. According to Islamic tradition, there are various reasons why a possession can happen. As we've explained in earlier videos, there are different occult and magical practices that have been popular in the Islamic world across history, such as those involving talismans or invocations, and in the more malicious examples, curses. While most of the quote-unquote magic in this tradition is working with God and the power of God, there are some examples of summoning or working with Jinn in different ways. We saw this in the famous, or maybe I should say infamous, Shams al-Ma'arif, for instance. And a Jinn possession can happen as a result of this. Perhaps someone has cursed you, or one of your own rituals involving Jinn has backfired, and now you're in trouble.
Yep. So, and it's been commanded in the Holy Quran, don't try to interact with these things. Don't try to talk to them. It's forbidden, and they're not supposed to try to interact with us either. And there are serious consequences if you do. So you may have heard of people who are using a Ouija board, and then like something's following them around for years, or something is in their house and they can't get rid of it. Basically, you're communicating with Jinn in our belief. No rituals, no. But, you know, some people who will do like magic rituals or whatever, they may call on specific Jinn, or maybe thought of in other beliefs to be demons, to call on them to have them do work for you. And that's never going to work out for you.
In the case of the Shams al-Ma'arif, it is said that only owning a copy of the book or reading it will bring Jinn upon you. But Jinn have emotions and feelings too, and a possession can also be the result of you insulting or harming them in some way, as a kind of...
They have feelings too, okay? Okay, it's not just all about you. They have feelings too. You insult the Jinn, they might take over your body.
Retaliation.
Ugh.
In one of the core stories from the 1001 Nights, the story of the merchant and the Jinn, it tells of how a merchant is confronted by an angry Ifrit who wants to kill him. The reason? The merchant was walking along eating dates and throwing the seeds around, accidentally hitting and killing the son of this particular Ifrit.
Oh,
now in this...
See, yeah, you can accidentally hurt or injure, or as he said, kill the Jinn. Tanzita says, maybe not a ritual, but being so mean, hateful, and horrible that Jinn just cling to you and possess you, asking for Chantal, not a friend. It definitely will attract a similar type of Jinn that will be hateful and horrible. And it definitely does not have to be a ritual at all. Some people, it can happen to without them conjuring it or asking for it to. And people can open up themselves to that type of thing, which in my belief is why we are not allowed intoxicants, why we are not allowed to drink alcohol or smoke weed for non-medicinal purposes, contrary to what Chantal wants to believe within the Church of Chantal. But that is one thing that can open us up to that.
Story, this doesn't result in an actual possession, but it does showcase how Jinn can become angry with the behavior of humans and might use possession as a kind of retaliation or revenge. Jinn can also feel lust towards human beings, and there are instances of sexual relations between humans and Jinn, as well as cases where humans even marry Jinn. Indeed, the famous early Muslim philosopher and scientist Al-Jahiz wrote that, quote, "Some Islamic theologians allege that intermarriage and crossbreeding has occurred between the Jinn and humans, according to the Almighty's statement, make them partners in wealth and offspring. This is apparent since female Jinn undertake to seduce human men out of passion, seeking fornication, and likewise the men of the Jinn, human women."
Okay.
So,
but what about biology? What about the biology, though? Like, you have to have a uterus, you have to have an egg to fertilize, and you need something to fertilize the egg. How does that even work then? If a human marries a Jinn, how does that even work? I have no idea. Scar says, can someone change a Jinn? Like you say, you attract a very positive one, but become an ugly person. Does that affect it? That would be very dangerous to have such an attachment to a Jinn that it would want to change to be around you. You wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that at all. No. No, you would want, I mean, any changes that happen to you, just like people, just like a chat, right? Like a YouTube chat attracts certain people depending on the channel, right? So if I suddenly got real mean and nasty, I mean, I've had my moments, let's not be, I've had moments, but like if every day I start yelling and swearing and telling Chantal she's a piece of crap no matter what she does, and like I'm going to attract people who enjoy that, who maybe feel a similar way or talk like that themselves. But the people who are here now wouldn't necessarily change into that type of person just because I have. They'll just get driven away and they'll be attracted to something else to go to. But you definitely you wouldn't want a Jinn to be so attached to you as a human that it would want to be around you no matter how you behave. There should be no interaction at all. You attract what you put out. Yeah, simply said. Yeah. Yep. You are being condescending. Is that a Jinn thing, woman? I don't know what you're talking about. Is weird because all Jinn appearances is connected to a woman? No. No. Nope. Jinn are male and female. If a woman talks to an older woman, is a Jinn? No. No. No, none of that is right. If a woman talks to an elder Jinn? If a woman misbehaved, Jinn? I have no idea where you're going with that. That's an awesome excuse, a woman talking to an older woman. I think there may be some confusion. So he talked something about like someone goes into like a bathhouse or something and thinks that they're talking to an older woman, but it may actually be a Jinn in disguise, pretending to be an older woman. It's not that the old woman is equated to a Jinn. Like it's actually a Jinn, like a shape-shifting type of thing. But they think that they're just talking to an older woman. But let me go on. Cause I don't, there may have been a misunderstanding further back. Lord Baroque is mentioned in relation to Prophet Yusuf, which is Joseph. The wolf is presented as a potentially dangerous animal that could attack or even kill Yusuf. Correct. Yes. Okay. Yep. Okay. It sounds like they can sometimes be tricksters. Yes, they can, Kathy. Absolutely. Yep.
Possession actually happens. How does this manifest itself? In other words, what are the symptoms of a Jinn possession? As you can imagine, there are a lot of symptoms, there are a lot of different symptoms, and many of them today would simply be attributed to mental disorders of different kinds. Some common symptoms are mood shifts and changes in personality, depression.
Okay. So he's saying in like way back when, before the DSM, way before the DSM, mental illnesses were thought of maybe like it's Jinn possession. And I think that happened in other cultures as well. Like, oh, you're possessed by a demon, but maybe the person is schizophrenic and they're hearing voices because it's an actual mental illness. Maybe it's not a demon.
Controllable laughter or crying, epileptic convulsions, a changed voice like in those demon movies, suddenly being able to speak a foreign language that you didn't know before, recurring nightmares and insomnia, among much else. Now, some of you might be thinking, many of these kind of sound like me, so am I possessed by a Jinn? Probably not, as symptoms will also often include religious aspects, such as negative reactions to the recitation of the Quran or the culture.
Yes. Oh, let him finish. Yes, this, I know about this. Yeah.
Am I possessed by a Jinn? Probably not, as symptoms will also often include religious aspects, such as negative reactions to the recitation of the Quran or the call to prayer, or a general abandonment of religious observances. Regardless, it sounds like being possessed by a jinni is pretty unpleasant, and it is certainly something that people want to get rid of.
Yeah. So, I learned about this while I was in Egypt, okay? Yes, sometimes people will have a negative reaction to hearing recitation of the Holy Quran. And it might happen too if they hear Bible verses, I don't know. But I remember, I worked with a girl, she was from Germany, or Austria. She was from Austria. She spoke German or something, I don't know. Anyway, but I worked with her, and she married an Egyptian man. And I never even thought of reverting until after I returned to the U.S. But I always enjoyed hearing the Holy Quran recited, always. It was just very calming to me. It always just felt like soothing and nice. She told me that when her husband would recite or when he would play recitation of Holy Quran, she would get a headache. She'd get a headache, and that blew my mind because I'm like, wow, really? It actually calms me down. And I told my ex that. I'm like, yeah, she says she gets it. And he's like, oh boy. I was like, why? What? I'm like, maybe it's the reciter. Maybe it's the person. Maybe it's their voice. And he's like, no, there's something else going on there. And then I kind of learned about this, that they can have a negative reaction. And because they may have a jinn possession. Yeah.
For this reason, there have existed different techniques of exorcism, or ruqya in Arabic, that are employed to deal with such a situation.
Yes. So ruqya is a recitation of Quran, and it is meant to drive out jinn. Yes.
This is truly a vast topic, and much of what we have discussed in earlier videos on the Islamic and occult sciences are directly related to it. We can see across history, and in many places still today, that various kinds of talismans and amulets are used to get rid of jinn and other troubles.
Don't do that.
A talisman can technically be any object. You're probably thinking about some necklace with a locker, and that could definitely be a talisman, but there are many other things that could be employed in this kind of magic too. From a simple
You don't want to do this. I gotta let my dog out. I'll explain why in a moment.
piece of paper to bronze bowls and even clothes. The important part was imbuing these objects with occult power, usually by adding certain symbols, writings, or images onto them. Some of the most common ways of turning an object into a talisman would be to write on it the names of God in Arabic. Primary of these is of course the name Allah, but one also finds names like Ar-Rahman, the Merciful, and Al-Ahad, which means the One, etc. If not God himself, then one might write the names of one or more of his angels, such as Jibreel, Mikael, or one of his prophets, perhaps Muhammad, Moses, or Solomon. For many Shiites, one might also write the names of one of the Imams, or spiritual successors to the Prophet Muhammad. Very common is also to write the Shahada, or Muslim proclamation of faith, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but God, or direct verses from the Quran. Many verses, like the Ayat al-Kursi, or throne verse, are thought to be especially powerful in this regard. So a person that is possessed by a jinni could advise a specialist in these kinds of sciences, and might be given an amulet containing verses from the Quran that he or she can wear around their neck. Maybe hang them over their bed, as another example, or other places in their home, etc. It is thought that the very presence of these verses, or names of God, for instance, have such power in themselves to ward off evil spirits. If you have visited a Middle Eastern home, you'll know that different kinds of amulets are very common to find, such as the Hand of Fatima, for example, which often has this very exact purpose. There are also many other different kinds of protective amulets, such as talismanic shirts and clothes, among much else, and other images or motifs that have protective powers, such as the so-called magic squares. In some of the classic books of occult sciences in the Islamic world, such as the Shams al-Ma'arif and the Ghayat al-Hakim, we find different kinds of instructions for protection. Aside from wearing amulets of protective verses, words, or images, one can also, for instance, burn the object on which these words are written and then inhale the fumes. So these are some of the more occult practices for protection against jinn possession. And one should remember that these practices have been very widespread and popular in the Islamic world and still is in many parts of the Middle East today. But they have also been criticized and seen as un-Islamic by many scholars, especially today, and indeed has even been seen as the very opposite of Islamic, as being basically heretical. And to these more skeptical or critical scholars, there is only one particular form of ruqya or exorcism that is legitimate according to the religion, which does not involve these more occult aspects like talismans, for instance. Among these more quote-unquote safe practices are such things as simply reciting the Quran over the afflicted person, particularly certain surahs or verses that are thought to be effective for this purpose, such as the aforementioned Ayat al-Kursi, Surat al-Nas, or the haunting and short Surat al-Falaq, or chapter of the daybreak. Quote, "Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of daybreak, from the evil of what he has created, from the evil of darkness when it enshrouds, from the evil of those who blow upon knots, and from the evil of the envier when he envies." According to the exorcist tradition in Islam written by Bilal Phillips, this initial step is usually followed by, and here I quote, "Quranic verses may be recited over water and given to the patient to drink. Olive oil over which the Quran has been read may be rubbed on the aching limbs. 3. One's communication is established with the possessing spirit. Information is sought concerning its name and its reason for possessing the patient. 4. Through admonition, scolding, and or persuasion, the jinn or group of jinn are then encouraged to leave. 5. If the possessing jinni refuses to leave through encouragement, it is then tortured by further Quranic recitation. It is commanded to leave and to take an oath not to return. 6. Beating may be resorted to in order to inflict pain on the possessing entity only when the human personality is not conscious. This is used in conjunction with commands to the jinni to leave. 7. Water over which the Quran has been recited is used for drinking, and olive oil over which the Quran has been recited is used for rubbing on the aching parts of the body. These are, in other words, some of the most common and recurring techniques for dealing with jinn possession. But there are other, more unusual examples too. There is, for instance, the fasting tradition of Zar that we find in places like Egypt, Ethiopia, and across the Middle East, where spirit possession is handled through intense music and dance to appease the possessing spirits. This is a fascinating ritual complex that we will dedicate a full episode to, hopefully later this month. For this reason, we won't be going any deeper into it right now, but it is worth knowing that such more unique and elaborate forms of possession and exorcism, or in this case appeasement, exist as well.
Yes. My dog, man. He's been a little twerp today. He's been a little bit of a twerp. Good night, Just Jamie. So, good night, Magwencia. Yeah, so interesting. So, he's talking about the talismans, right? This is always a bad idea. Because he was talking about like the evil eye and things, right? And the hand of Fatima. These verses, I wonder if I can play them. You should hear these. I want you to hear these. It's very powerful. But yeah, the talismans, the eye of the evil eye, the hand of Fatima. These are all things that are calling on physical items, which is a form of shirk. And shirk is attributing the power of God to something other than God. So you're saying this item, this eye-looking thing that's used in a lot of different cultures. And it's a cultural thing. It's definitely not religious. And people hang like the evil eye up like in a storefront, to try to ward off jealousy and envy and things like that. But we should be relying on God, not an object. So that's why and I heard him say, like, yeah, that's why it's considered un-Islamic, but it is a cultural thing. I would like to, yes, I would like to play that for you. I'm going to find a good source. Ayat al-Kursi, Surat al-Nas. These specifically, I was talking before about specific chapters that can be recited. And so al-Falaq, and Falaq of daybreak. And I think he talks...
Falaq, or chapter of the daybreak.
Yeah.
Quote, say, I seek refuge in the Lord.
Yeah, and these are repeated over and over. So the evil of those who blow upon knots. This is something, blow upon knots. So it's said that people who practice witchcraft use knots, like they knot things or something, and they recite their spells over the knots. That's what that refers to. And from the evil of the envier when he envies. Seek refuge in the Lord of Daybreak. From the evil of what he has created. So just evil in general. The evil of darkness when it enshrouds. The evil of those who blow upon knots. And from the evil of the envier when he envies. Okay, so you guys already know all this. Cord magic. I've never even heard of that. Binding. Okay. Yeah.
Lord of Daybreak. From the evil of what he has created. From the evil of darkness when it enshrouds. From the evil of those who blow upon knots. And from the evil of the envier when he envies. According to the exorcist tradition in Islam written by Bilal Phillips, this initial step is usually followed by...
I've read his
here
stuff
I quote,
before.
Quranic verses may be recited over water and given to the patient to drink. Olive oil over which the Quran has been read may be rubbed on the aching limbs. 3. One's communication is established with the possessing spirit. Information is sought concerning its name and its reason for possessing the patient. 4. Through admonition, scolding, and or persuasion, the jinn or group of jinn are then encouraged to leave. 5. If the possessing jinni refuses to leave through encouragement, it is then tortured by further Quranic recitation. It is commanded to leave and to take an oath not to return. 6. Beating may be resorted to in order to inflict pain on the possessing entity only when the human personality is not conscious. This is used in conjunction with commands to the jinni to leave. 7. Water over which the Quran has been recited is used for drinking, and olive oil over which the Quran has been recited is used for rubbing on the aching parts of the body. These are, in other words, some of the most common and recurring techniques for dealing with jinn possession. But there are other, more unusual examples too. There is, for instance, the fasting tradition of Zar that we find in places like Egypt, Ethiopia, and across the Middle East, where spirit possession is handled through intense music and dance to appease the possessing spirits. This is a fascinating ritual complex that we will dedicate a full episode to, hopefully later this month.
Okay.
For this reason, we won't be going any deeper into it right now, but it is worth knowing that such more unique and elaborate forms of possession and exorcism, or in this case appeasement, exist as well. So this has been only a brief overview of the world of jinn possession in the Islamic world.
He goes so deep and he's like, we've just barely touched the surface.
The very reality of this kind of possession has been debated by Islamic scholars throughout history, but that examples of it and different ways of dealing with it can be found both across history and today in different regions of this larger Islamic world and the Middle East. Mm-hmm. We've also explored a few different ways that exorcism or ruqya is used on people that are afflicted with this kind of possession. Mm-hmm. Hopefully this has been educational as well as put you in a nice spooky October mood.
Did it make you feel spooky?
To speak about the darker aspects of the world's different religions and cultures for the remainder of the month of October, and I hope you are as excited as I am for the continuing of this year's spooky season.
Totally. And he does different religions too, not just that one. Okay, so I would like to play for you that portion. Okay. So this is Surah Al-Falaq, Daybreak. Falaq. And let me take my little guy off the screen here. So this has, this is just Quran.com, and it has everything you need. I've checked off transliteration, So transliteration is like the phonetic of how we would say it, because we can't read Arabic letters if we're native English speakers. Usually we don't know how to read it. So phonetic and there we go. And Sahih International tends to be a translation that I feel comfortable with. Okay. All right. Hopefully, do we have a volume here? Okay, here we go. This is Surah Al-Falaq. Daybreak.
قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد.
And that's that chapter. That's the whole chapter. Now, you want to hear something. Surah Al-Nas. Surah Al-Nas is next. Okay. This is powerful. And this is there we go. Why isn't it? Yep, 114. There we go. So Surah Al-Nas. So I'll read the translation to you beforehand. Kate Nader. I'm listening to this in the background while I'm cleaning, and I missed the part about what Jinn meant, so I'm thinking they're talking about possessed alcohol bottles. Ah! Thank you, Kate Nate. Thank you very much. Jinn is one of the 3 creations of God in Islam. So there are humankind, angels, and the jinn. And jinn are made from a smokeless flame. And there are as many types of jinn as there are people. So this can be part of Ruqya. This is also something that can be recited in the home if you got some weird stuff going on. I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind, the sovereign of mankind, the God of mankind, from the evil of the retreating whisperer who whispers evil into the breasts of mankind, from among the jinn and mankind. But listen to it. Listen to it in Arabic.
قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس.
Very powerful. Extremely powerful. Okay. What's going on with Raven Lisa? What is happening? Let me get my owl buddy back up on the screen. Yep, so those are chapters that can be very useful. Let's see. What is going on with Raven Lisa? I don't really see what's happening. Is everything okay? Oh, do you have a headache? If you feel like this is causing a headache, then I would just probably either, check something else out or, come back another time. No big deal. All right. Or maybe just looking at a screen too long is bothersome. That happens too. All right, let me take this off because what I would like to watch with you next is... She's goofing around. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, it's the same guy. So now we can go. Do you want to look at spirit possession rituals in Egypt? Okay. Jinn possession in Egypt. What is this? I haven't seen this.
Hey guys, so a short
But it's the same channel. Let me get you the link for it. Let's Talk Religion is the name of the channel. This will be interesting to me to see. It's in Egypt. Leather Daddy. Isn't that crazy? Oh my God, Dax Marshall. The other day, Dax was like, "Oh, I meant to submit an entry, but, I was like, oh, well, you still can. Go ahead." And he sends me that. I was like, oh my God. So glad. I said, yeah, send it. So glad. Wasn't that something? Whew. I opened my email. I was just like, oh God, I was dying. And you guys were like, share, tell us. I'm like, nope, it's for the pageant. Nope, you're going to have to wait to see it. And aren't you glad you waited? Oh my God.
disclaimer before we start the video. Obviously, this is being released in October and as sort of semi-part of the Shocktober thing. And that is because it's a follow-up to my previous episode on Jinn possession, which fits, I think, pretty neatly into that category. And also because the video, in broad strokes, deals with Jinn possession in different ways. But with that said, I do not want to give the impression that Zod itself is something scary or spooky. But I realized this as I was making the video that maybe people will sort of misunderstand that. I don't want to misrepresent Zod or Zod practitioners as being spooky or scary. This is an important spiritual thing for many people in this region. And so I just felt like I need to point out that I do not want to give that particular impression about Zod in general.
I've literally never heard of this. Czar, I've never heard of this.
And you'll notice also that I don't use the usual Shocktober intro for the video, partly as a result of that I want to sort of stay away from giving too much of that impression. So if you want to see it as part of the whole Shocktober thing, then you kind of can. I mean, there's the candles and stuff in the background still, and the whole aesthetic is there. But at the same time, I felt like I need to point out that the Zod itself should not be... It's not part of Shocktober in that case because of Zod, because of the ritual, but because of the general topic of Jinn possession.
I feel like he's starting to sound like me. He's over-explaining. Like, okay, yeah, we got it.
Secondly, I need to point out that because the sources that I've used have primarily focused on Egypt, that means that the information and the stuff I convey in the video is also mostly particular to Egypt. The general stuff about Zar is true across the board, but there are some details that might differ. Like, for example, I say that most of Zar practitioners are Muslim. That's true in Egypt. I'm not entirely sure that's necessarily true in Ethiopia, for example. Or the questions of gender, that most practitioners are women. This is true in Egypt, according to the sources, but it could be true elsewhere too, but I just also wanted to sort of put that out there, that the details of this stuff is particular to Egypt because of the sources that I've used.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Patricia Ingalls, thank you so much for gifting 5 Are You Serious memberships. Thank you. Yes, Magnolia received one. Girl Scout got one. Yikes, sinking further is late as usual. And The World According to Dar and Misty Dreamer all received memberships from Patricia Ingalls. If you're in the chat right now, please give her a big shout out. Thank you so much, Patricia. Always helping the nest to grow. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
With all that said and with these disclaimers in mind, I hope you enjoyed the video. In my previous episodes, we have determined that belief in jinn, or spirits, in the Islamic and Middle Eastern world is a widespread thing. And also that it is a common belief that such jinn can actually possess human beings. Claimed cases of jinn possession, while contested, can be found across history and in various places today. And when such a thing happens, there are different ways of dealing with it. The most common would be different forms of ruqya, where the possessing spirit is removed through rituals involving Quranic recitation or things like amulets and talismans. But in places like Egypt, there is an entirely different way of dealing with spirit possession that have developed over the centuries and which is known as zar.
Okay.
A kind of ritual complex or tradition that involves stories about spirits, rituals to appease those spirits, and a whole ritual community built around the relationship between humans and the possessing jinn. This is a tradition that involves many different aspects and fields of interest, from religion and mysticism / Sufism to music and dance to ritualization and social cohesion and social belonging. And it's a really fascinating and prominent actually part of the religious and ritual life of many people in regions like Egypt and Sudan and Ethiopia.
Okay.
So today, let's dive
I wonder
into
if he's talking about Upper Egypt
of
then.
Zar.
Let's go. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you. It's a labor of love. Okay, Heather. Oh my gosh.
Zar is
Lord Baroque. Listen, Lord Baroque gifted 50 memberships earlier, okay? Now gifting 20 memberships. A total of 70 memberships today alone. Lord Baroque. Thank you. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you does not feel even close to enough. Thank you so much. Wow. Run, Emmy, run. B. Nyman. Crimes Against Cookies. Teaspoon. Shelley Daly. Roji. Donna D. Kiki. Oh my God. So many Nesties. Musical Mistress, Kong Stomper is Boom Shaka Laka Laka Laka. Lord Seaver, Anna Banana, Cyber Banana Cat, Ruby Parajewels, GC, Sister S, BNN Howard, I'm Sunk, Dumpster Snacks, Grey Wolf, WRX, Monty B and Frank received memberships thanks to Lord Baroque. Are you going by Butterslut or Slutsy Butsy or Buttery Sluttery? Buttery Sluttery Patriarch. Give him a big shout out in the chat. If I just read your name, that is amazing. Thank you so much. He's like Butter Slut, something like that. Yeah. Slutty Buttery or something. Yeah. Buttery. Thank you so much, Lord Baroque. So generous. Thank you.
a widespread ritual complex that is especially common today in the Red Sea region, such as in Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan, but also in places such as Arabia and Iran.
So the Red Sea, I've been to the Red Sea. It's Port Said? I think Port Said. Port Said felt very, very, very different to me than Cairo and Alexandria and Upper Egypt, which is like the Sudanese border. It felt entirely different to me. And I'm not sure why.
Essentially, it is a tradition of spirit possession and different ways of dealing with it, which includes ecstatic music and dancing, social groups, and a hierarchy of ritual specialists that aim to help people afflicted with spirits to ease their troubles and get rid of the issue. It's uncertain where Zod originated, with various different theories and claims. Many claim that it essentially originated in Ethiopia, and it seems certain enough that it made its way into Egypt from Ethiopia in particular around the early 19th century. But others, including in Ethiopia itself, will claim that it actually comes from Yemen originally. In any case, the earliest record of the word Zod being mentioned as referring to possessing spirits come from a text in Ge'ez in Ethiopia in the 16th century. And the earliest description of a Zod ritual was also recorded in that country in the early 19th century. The word Zod is also unclear in terms of its etymology and origin. It seems unlikely that it comes from an Arabic word, and there have been various theories about it. But in the tradition we are talking about today, the word is used in a variety of different ways. In its most basic sense, Zod is a possessing spirit, a kind of being that can possess human beings. In the Islamic context, it has been categorized as a specific type of jinn, and sometimes in particular with what is called the qareen, or constant companion, mentioned in the Quran. The Zod spirits are numerous and are often divided into lines of families who live in societies just like human beings, and they can come into contact with humans in different ways. Similar to what we described in the previous episode about general jinn possession, these possessions can be the result of various different things, from somehow offending the spirit in question, or encountering a particularly horny spirit in some cases, or being the result of some sort of occult or magical practice.
Okay.
At this point, then, one can become possessed, and the tradition describes this through metaphors of clothing. So it's like the spirit is wearing the person, just like a person would wear clothes. And this can result in various different symptoms.
Yes.
Which include...
Yes. Have you seen, I've watched people talk about this. In Philadelphia, and I forget that's on the tip of my tongue, that area by the subway station, where some people will be, on fentanyl, high on fentanyl, and it's called the fentanyl fold, where the person just folds at the waist and is completely, like, they're still standing, they're still on their feet, but they're completely folded over. Have you ever seen that? But I've seen people say the fentafold, yeah. And I've seen people say that they have a demon or a jinn on their back. And that's what's making them fold over, because they don't fall down. They don't sit down. They'd never go down. Their feet stay firmly planted. Kensington, thank you, Tasha. They just bend at the waist. And it's unbelievable. So I've seen people say that. So he's going to tell us about some other symptoms.
According to the scholar Hagar al-Hadidi, quote, headaches, continuous rheumatic pain, weight loss, nausea, loss of appetite, infertility, and miscarriage. A wide range of psychological behaviors, including unexplainable bouts of anger and aggression, and states of sadness or fear, may also be symptomatic of Zod possession.
But I mean, that can also be symptomatic of a lot of things. A lot of things.
We'll talk about a bit more later on.
Okay.
Certain behaviors and things that are considered taboo in these societies, such as homosexuality, for instance, could also be connected to Zod possession in different ways. And cultic...
Okay, let's be clear, okay? I don't feel... Let's be very clear, okay? There are a lot of beliefs and thoughts and things that I just do not agree with. I do not believe that a person's sexuality or sexual orientation has... Sir Austin, has anything whatsoever to do with a possession, okay? I don't. I feel like people are born the way that they're born, and that's it. Let me just make that clear.
Initiation into the Tsar ritual complex, into the Tsar
Possessed.
community, also serves in many ways as a kind of way of
There
acceptance.
was this, he was talking about horny Jinn earlier. There was this really horny gay Jinn, and I don't know, he was pretty hot and he turned me. I don't know, it happens, I guess. No, I don't think so.
Of these social divergences. So that is the basic meaning of the word Tsar, as the name for the possessing spirits that are at its core. But Tsar is also used for the ritual itself, the ritual aimed at helping people from possession, as well as a general name for the whole tradition or complex itself.
Okay.
When a person becomes quote-unquote worn by a Tsar spirit,
Ah.
they refer to with words like me'afret, maryub, or menzar. And since the symptoms are pretty unpleasant, you'd of course want to get rid of them. If regular methods don't help to alleviate their troubles, and the person suspects they might be dealing with a Tsar possession, they can then turn to the Tsar specialist and their rituals. Tsar
Tax Marshall said Jinn Pride Month is when? Sir Austin, lesbian has a nice ring to it. Lesbian.
includes a whole hierarchy of professionals and specialists, including professional
It's been
musicians.
a long week, okay?
A ritual specialist or leader is often referred to as a sheikh or sheikha in the case
Sheikha,
of women.
yes.
And indeed, they are mostly women.
Yes.
If a person then thinks that they might be afflicted with a Tsar spirit, they will go through a sometimes long process of identifying the spirit in question.
Oh, wow. This is real.
You see, the Tsar spirits are very much
This is a real video. This is real. Okay.
individuals with personalities and ethnicities and other things. And a sheikha can use different sorts of incense, play different kinds of music, or call upon the spirit in different ways to make it appear, so to say, through various kinds of divination. Once the spirit is identified, the afflicted person can then enter into the Tsar community. As you can see, it isn't just temporary rituals or general ideas about the spirits, but a whole initiatory tradition. You become initiated into the Tsar tradition and their community, and it is thus something that stays with you for the rest of your life.
Oh, wow.
Unlike other
commitment.
types of jinn or other ideas about jinn, Tsar spirits cannot be exorcised. In other words, if you're possessed by a Tsar spirit, this means you're stuck with that spirit for the rest of your life.
I'm confused. I'm confused. I thought the ritual was to exorcise the jinn from you. But it sounds like, oh, spirit possession rituals in Egypt. So they are implanting a jinn or jinni in you? But that's called Tsar? Is that what you guys are getting from I've never heard of this ever. You think they're invoking the jinn. It's kind of what it sounds like, huh? Hello, Zen. I know, right? People do all kinds of stuff. You know, they think like it's going to bring them some fortune or something.
And this is something that is really unique about Tsar in particular compared to other forms of dealing with jinn possession, is that rather than trying to get rid of the jinns that are possessing people, the Tsar rituals and initiation is instead aimed at appeasing the spirits and reconciliation with the spirits.
Okay.
When the initiate goes through the initiation ritual,
Yeah, I don't want that.
incense will be burned, music will be played, and animals will be sacrificed.
Okay.
After which the initiate will
Yeah.
isolate themselves for
All
a
set.
period,
All
eating only from this sacrificed meat.
God.
All this is in order to make the spirit happy and reconcile it with the host.
They're doing this in Egypt? Ugh. This sounds like some magic that's done in Afro-Caribbean areas.
Thereby removing the negative effects of the possession and hopefully enhancing any positive effect that it might have. After this, they have entered into the Tsar community and will continue to do rituals regularly,
Wow.
both in private and with the community, with the same purpose in mind of keeping the spirit happy.
Oh my
There-
gosh. What is that?
There are various kinds of Tsar paraphernalia, such as amulets or clothing that might be worn because the particular spirit that is possessing them enjoys those particular kinds of clothes or amulets or whatever. Like we said, the Tsar spirits have certain personalities and likes. There are different kinds of Tsar music, for instance, and different spirits will respond to different kinds of music depending on its preferences. This will often be connected to their ethnicity or nationality, so that a spirit from Sudan will respond to music and rhythms with Sudanese origins and so on. In terms of their public ritual, this is perhaps the most well-known aspect of Tsar. Usually on a weekly basis, a Tsar community will meet for what is known as Hadra, or gathering, to perform a ritual focused on music.
Look at these tourists. Look at these tourists. They showed up for this. They're like, I can just hear them. I can just hear them. We're going to a traditional Middle Eastern. It's just how they talk. We're going to a traditional Middle Eastern gathering. It's called a Hadra. Oh, and there was music, and it was wonderful. We had a great time, your father and I.
Of Tsar.
Right.
Usually on a weekly basis, a Tsar community will meet for what is known as Hadra, or gathering, to perform a ritual.
Look at them. Look at them. Her with the scarf. This is a tourist. I don't know what it is about people who go to Egypt for vacation or for tourism. They feel like it's ubiquitous. I don't know why people do this, but women feel like if they put a scarf around their neck, it makes them modest. I don't know what it is. Foreign women do it all the time. They just stick a scarf around their neck and suddenly they're more modest. It's bizarre. Like you're still wearing shorts, ma'am, okay, and a tank top. The scarf is doing nothing for you. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, why would you want to invoke a Jinn, Abriana? I guess people like Debbie mentioned voodoo. It's invoking things to bring you fortune in life, like maybe like love or money or something that they want, but they do have to pay for it. A baked Korean. When you see a fortune teller, the fortune teller is getting information from Jinn. That's right, baked Korean. Only God knows the future. Baked Korean. You have an Islamic way of thinking, sir. Yes. Yeah. They also, Tasha, you said that people do this like where you are too? They also catch spirits in bottles. Oh my God. Yes, Teonsit, I am talking about voodoo, yes. Yeah. Please don't take me as this me negatively judging. Okay. I just want to stay safe if you are involved in this practice. Who? I don't think you could stay safe if you're involved in this practice. I don't think anyone could be safe doing this, like at all. There's no way to stay safe doing this. There is I don't feel like safety in this is anywhere like No, this is not safety. Not at all. Not at all. Kate Nader says they did say it could bring weight loss. You'd rather just get a gym membership? Yeah. Especially if you have to inhabit this thing for the rest of your life and attend these ceremonies every week. Yes, Tasha. It's, I don't know how that's pronounced. Obia, yeah. Many years ago, I learned about voodoo, not to practice, but to protect myself. And yeah. Jinn, that's right, baked Korean. Jinn aren't supposed to communicate with humans, only the naughty ones do. That's true. That's right. Yep. That's right. It's mostly done For revenge, money, or love, it's all bad energy, says Tasha. Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. No worries, Scar. Yeah. Not you. Anyone who's engaging in it. Hey, you, Taurus, be safe. They have no idea what they're doing there. They've no clue. No clue. Yeah. Hey, Heather. Yeah. Lesbian. Yeah. I agree, Kathy. I think any communication with such entities is a bad idea. I think so too. Yep. Why would they go? Because it's a traditional cultural experience. That's why. Some people don't have discernment. Some people just don't have discernment. They could walk into something like this and be like, oh yeah, wow, this is so foreign to us. And maybe that's their intuition telling them, this is really, you probably shouldn't do this. You probably shouldn't go into this. But maybe their tour guide is a person who engages in this practice and is like, oh yeah, you should come. And you want to give an offering to the spirits at the door, some money or something. These people have no idea. That's scary. But yeah, it's, people do all kinds of, and it's always traditional. I remember this girl that I knew living in Egypt. She was from New York, okay? Oh my God. She was always saying traditional, like wearing the traditional dress and like traditional this, traditional that. I'm like, listen, when you're in New York, do you tell people that you're going out for a traditional American meal of a burger and fries? Stop with the traditional, okay? What are you trying to say here? What are you saying? But like that's how I feel these people would talk. Like, oh, we went to a traditional gathering and yada, yada, yada.
Focused on music and dancing. The Zar community has a whole host of professional musicians who, unlike the congregation as a whole, are usually male and will specialize in different styles and
Tasha.
genres of music. During the Hadra, ecstatic music will be played and the participants can start dancing almost uncontrollably like in a trance. Mm-hmm. This is seen as the possessing spirit taking over the person and dancing to the particular kind of music that they like. For initiates, this Hadra ritual is a way of keeping the spirits happy. By playing their preferred music and allowing it to take over by dancing, they are appeasing the spirit. But the Hadra is also open to the public, and many non-initiates will participate as audience members.
Why?
The most common purpose for a non-initiate to participate is to identify whether or not they are in fact possessed by a Zar spirit, and to identify these spirits in particular.
The rhythm is going to get you.
If they start responding to a specific song, then one can more easily identify who it is that's wearing you, so to say, since,
oh my God.
Again, these Zar spirits have different personalities and prefer different kinds of music. But others also just participate because they are interested, they are curious, they just want to see the spectacle, or perhaps they've been invited by a friend, for instance. So as you can see, Zar represents a unique and different way of dealing with Jinn possession. It's a complex ritual tradition where initiated members will continuously throughout their lives perform these different rituals to appease and reconcile with their spirits rather than to completely get rid of them through exorcisms. As you can imagine, Zar also serves a very significant social function and role in society where people who maybe don't fit in different ways can find a sense of social belonging and comfort. It is worth pointing out, and indeed a very significant fact, that the vast majority of Zar practitioners and initiates are women. Like we said, the professional musicians are often men, but the rest of the people connected to this ritual complex are usually women. The ritual specialists or sheikhs are mostly women, and it is women that are drawn to become initiated. There are men that participate too, of course, but they are vastly outnumbered by women. And even then, the men have come into contact with Zar through wives, sisters, or in general by hearing about it from women. What are the reasons for this? What are some of the psychological and social functions and aspects of Zar? Well, it clearly serves a social function to initiated individuals who are going through various troubles by becoming part of a fellowship where those experiences are not necessarily shunned or attempted to get rid of, but rather to reconcile and affirm many feelings and experiences. This becomes especially important for women who, after all, have to go through several difficult physical and mental challenges throughout life.
So you see the hijab. This is a very, very, very common way that women wear hijab in Egypt. It's this angle, like this brown scarf on the right. It's this angle, like this is, like this way is not so common. This has been very, very popular in Egypt for many years.
That men are usually spared. Indeed, it has been observed that instances of Zar's spiritual possessions often coincide with major events in the lives of women. So
this looks like one of my students. She looks just like one of my, like how one of my students would dress. So you see the difference between someone like this and Chantal, right? Okay. So she's wearing the colors of the Egyptian flag. Right? She's wearing a white shirt, a red vest or something, black pants. She has a white underscarf and a black hijab over it. Does the direction mean anything or just a style? Nope, direction means nothing. Nope.
just puberty and the first menstrual blood, marriage, birthing, and menopause.
See, she's wearing a belt. Okay, you don't have to be wearing a burlap sack and a scuba cap. Hardly anyone dresses like that. I don't know anyone who dresses like Chantal.
These events often come with certain crises for the person, which can manifest as a spirit possession. The purpose of Zar thus partly becomes a kind of social support network for women going through these crises, as well as to, quote, ground a person in specific times and events associated with affliction and healing. In a way, the Zar spirits here become almost like personifications of these life crises and anxieties. And Zar provides a clear way of embodying and making those feelings real, as well as providing a path of healing through reconciliation. With this in mind, it becomes pretty clear why this phenomenon is so common with women. In the words of Al-Hadidi, quote, "The path of Zar provides a technique for empowering and energizing adepts, particularly women, to deal with their lives by learning to listen to and trust their feelings, by drawing upon their intuitive and innate powers of imagination, as well as their sensuous experience and knowledge of the world." As we said, Zar is quite a widespread practice in places like Egypt.
Yes, okay. So, can you see me? Well, you don't know what I look like. Well, some of you do. Can you see me walking along here? Yeah, this is Egypt. So we have the oranges over here. Okay, this is probably a cart on wheels that would have been farmers, falahin, from the farm on the cart with the donkey. They ride all the way into the city to sell their produce. Yeah, so this is 250 pounds. 250, that's probably piastres. Piastre is a denomination within a pound. So like Kuwaiti dinar, the fills are with like pennies basically. And these are sweet potatoes. So this right here is a sweet potato smoker, and it's a smoker. Like you can see, the smoke comes up out of here, and he actually has like sweet potatoes lined up here, and they roast them, and they're in tinfoil. And you buy one for like basically nothing, and they taste delicious. So this is a young girl. This is a young girl wearing hijab. Okay.
And Sudan, and it is a significant, albeit minor, aspect of the social fabric of these societies. Its relationship to the wider religious traditions that dominate the region is also an interesting factor. It is true that many Muslims, particularly modernists, have criticized Zar as un-Islamic or as a kind of heresy and superstition. At the same time, the majority of Zar practitioners are Muslim, and often devout practicing Muslims too.
How can that be,
It's also quite common that Zar affiliates are also connected to Sufism. since
Okay.
both have come to represent a kind of traditional form of religion or culture, as opposed to the modernist or fundamentalist strands of Islam that have grown stronger in the last century.
Okay.
In short, Zar is a fascinating example of a spirit possession tradition or ritual complex that has some really unique and fascinating characteristics. It intersects with many other aspects of religion and history and culture, such as questions of gender and embodiment, trauma, and social belonging. There is, of course, so much more to say about Zar, and I have in no way done it justice in this very short episode. So, as always, I encourage you to keep researching yourself, and I will also, as always, leave sources and recommended readings in the description. When I am particularly indebted to a specific author or book, I like to give them a special shout out, and in this case, I have based most of this episode on the research and writings of Hagar al-Hadidi, who has written an excellent book called Zar, Spirit Possession, Music, and Healing Rituals in Egypt. This book is based on her own research and personal experiences, and if you're interested in the topic, I can highly recommend this book in particular.
And it says at the bottom right, AUC Press, that's American University of Cairo.
And I will see you next time.
What a great channel, huh? What else does he do? Does he talk about the Druze? We need to learn about the Druze at some point, I think. He's almost at 1 million subscribers. I think he does. He talks about everything. Like, he goes so in depth into Islam, but he talks about all different kinds of things. Jihad Explained, that's a good one. It's over an hour, though. Early Islam and Alcohol. Religion in Ancient Egypt, that's an hour and a half. Japanese Ghosts. Wow. Search Druze. Who are the Druze? Who are the Alawites? It's all right here. Who are the Druze is 17 minutes. Would you like to watch it with me? I would like to.
Imam of the Ismaili Shia Muslims, Al-Hakim bi Amrullah, left his home in the capital city Cairo. He alone ventured to the city gates and then went outside, maybe to take a walk, maybe to meditate, we don't exactly know. What we do know is that Al-Hakim never returned home that night, but disappeared from history, never again to be found. The figure of Al-Hakim bi Amrullah, already a central figure to the Ismaili Shiites, would hold an even more prominent position in the religion of the Druze. The Druze are a fascinating religious minority in the Middle East that is very sort of isolated and secretive. They are situated primarily in the region known as the Levant in modern countries like Lebanon and Syria.
Okay.
And there are many questions surrounding the Druze, like are they Muslim, are they not Muslim? And people answer these questions very differently, both within and outside the group itself.
That's
what is
confusing.
clear is that they originate in Islam, and specifically in Ismailism. And what is Ismailism, you may ask? Well, I have a couple of videos on the subject that you can watch, but in short terms, Ismailism, or the Ismailis, are a branch, a sub-branch of the larger sort of denomination of Shia Muslims. The Shia generally follow the Imams, or descendants of the
This is so good. I think I found this someplace and I couldn't find it again. And I wanted to bring it up the other day. This really, it looks so ridiculous, I know, but it really does explain everything. It does. So, because I was also reading about the 12er branchers. I was like, what the heck is that? 12er? A 12er branch, right? So, Shia, this is all within, so we have Prophet Muhammad, right? And we have, but this is the most clear way it could ever be shown. To the right, Sunni, okay? Sunni Muslims, Sunni Islam. 3, okay? Within Sunni. The political authority is the caliphate. The religious authority is the legal scholars. Like you've heard me talk about the legal scholars all over, right? The spiritual authority is the Sufi sheikhs. Sufism is like the spirituality part, but there are people who practice Sufism, and it's also Islam, okay? And then over here, right, we have Shia. And all of this, all the way down here, and an offshoot over here, and down here, this is all Shia. All of that. And where Sunni Islam, we go by the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. We look to our legal scholars for rulings on things. The most qualified scholar is who, at the time, is who we look to. In Shia, it's different. It's different. They use a bloodline, essentially, like generations. That's funny, Scarlet Letter. So we have all of these imams, in all of these years, right? And then the Ismaili, it's from Ismail, but Ismaili, I guess. That part of Shia, okay, because now we're in like a green section here. This is where I believe the Druze come from. I will let them tell us. But then we also have this 12er Shiism with an imam, 4 generations of hereditary imams. Shia is like a bloodline, hereditary. And that's who like makes the rulings and things. Where in Sunni Islam, I'm a Sunni Muslim, we go by the most qualified scholar at the time. So they are waiting for the Imam Mahdi, I think. The Grand Ayatollahs represent the hidden Imam and the source of emulation. I don't know anything about this at all. But I guess, like Iran is Shia. And we think Ayatollah, right? Ayatollah Khomeini, for example. I guess, right? And then we have Nizari Ismailis, 30 generations of hereditary imams. And that's who's the guy now. And Dawoodi Bohras, I've never heard of this. Concealed imams represented by generations of days. Da'i. Present Da'i. Mutlaq. Okay. So this is such a good illustration, though. And not that you have to like look at all the details of it, but like Shia to the left and all the way down and all this, and then Sunni, just this upper right hand corner. That's all you need to know about Sunni Islam. Shia has a lot of branches and things. Okay.
Prophet Muhammad through his daughter Fatima,
It's very
who are
helpful.
both worldly and spiritual leaders in a line of succession, beginning with Fatima and Ali. The Ismailis branched off from the other larger branch called the Ithna Ashari or 12er group over who should succeed the 5th or 6th Imam, Jafar as-Sadiq. Now, those who favored his older son, Ismail ibn Jafar, became known as the Ismailis. And a couple of centuries later, the Ismailis had managed to form the Fatimid Empire, which at the height of its power ruled much of North Africa from Egypt and also parts of the Arabian Peninsula.
Look at this map. Look at this. Okay. Okay. This is fascinating. Okay. So this is North Africa right here. So we got Algeria, Tunisia, Libya. We got Egypt, right? And this is all, where's the legend here? So this purple area, oh, the Fatimid Caliphate. Okay. And then, okay, Cordoba, Spain. Okay, that's like Morocco type stuff. All right. Constantinople, Athens, Greece, the Byzantine Empire. Okay. And then look at Syria, the Hamdanid Emirate. Okay. Damascus, Aleppo, Salamiya, Abbasid territory. The history of this region is just insane. Right, Iranians are not Arabs. That's right. That's right. But the majority of Iranians are Muslim, I believe. Right? And then, okay, all right.
Now, it's very interesting.
Oh, yeah. Hijaz. So Medina. This is Saudi Arabia right here. Okay.
About the Fatimids is that the caliphs of the Fatimid dynasty were also the imams of the Ismaili community. So they served a kind of double function in that regard.
Okay.
And
Are you
this
guys
brings us
following?
back to the Caliph.
Are you guys following? Question. In Christianity, leaders are going to be judged more closely because of the authority they have and how they may lead someone. Is it the same in Islam where scholars would be likewise held? I believe so. I believe so. Yes, that map has changed countless times. Yes.
Hakim bi Amrullah, who, as I said, was the sixth caliph of the Fatimid dynasty and the 16th imam of the Ismaili Shiites. And so he was a very important person when he was alive as the ruler of an empire and also as the spiritual pole and highest authority to the Ismaili community. Already before his mysterious disappearance, he was highly revered by his Ismaili followers, but particularly by a certain group of people who viewed him as a bit more than just a regular imam. There had been tendencies within Shiism to apply certain divine or non-human qualities to the imam, but these particular followers of Al-Hakim began to see him as an actual manifestation of God on earth.
Ooh, okay. So that's where things would kind of veer away from Islam, really. Because we don't believe that anyone embodies any kind of divinity or the power of God on earth.
As the awaited Al-Mahdi, who was a messiah-like figure, very common, particularly in Shia Islam. These ideas have their earliest evidence in two Ismaili or proto-Druze missionaries, or also known as Dai, associated with Al-Hakim, whose names are Muhammad al-Darazi and Hamza ibn Ali ibn Ahmad al-Zuzani, who seems to have held this idea while Hakim was still alive. But the relationship between these two and their doctrines is a disputed issue. Some claim that Darazi actually held more extreme views, that Al-Hakim was divine, and that Hamza didn't, and that then Darazi was executed for this. So by some Jews and others, Darazi is viewed actually as a heretic even within the faith, and Hamza as the actual founder. And what these people actually believed isn't all that clear. Some believe that they saw Al-Hakim as actually divine, or a divine manifestation at least. Others say that Hamza, at the very least, did not view it in that way. But these things are very unclear, and we don't know exactly what actually sort of happened at that point.
Okay. Good night, Sehansita. I am not paying much attention to these names here, okay? I don't think that we really have to focus on that. I think it's just showing, like how he showed us in the other one, that you have two important figures and their thoughts about things. I don't think we need to, really... I think he's really good at giving the history so you kind of know what he's talking about, like how things started and
actually sort of happened at that point. It's not clear whether this was a radical break with Ismaili tradition or simply as a continuation of already established doctrine. That is, if these people consider themselves to be creating a new religion or just extending the already existing Ismaili faith.
Darkest Coven, you're so right. Darkest Coven said, hard to follow. It is. But getting it. As an aside, Smug Tell would never put this kind of work into understand. Not to mention she has no one to lead her. Not that she would anyway. True. And I don't think... Salah doesn't strike me as an open-minded person. So if if Chantal asked, "Oh, who are the Druze?" Like, what do you think his answer would be? Like, "Oh, they're Shiite, but they're different, and like, we're not the same. Like, we don't believe what they believe, and like, that would be the end of the conversation. Like, and she has no intellectual curiosity to be like, well, what do they actually believe? Like, huh? And how did they come to be? Like, no, she doesn't care, and he's probably like, no, they're not us, so we don't care.
In my opinion, the later is probably the truth, as the ideas, or many of the ideas expressed in the Jewish faith, are also, at least in some form, present in Shia Islam, and particularly in Ismailism. But others have competing ideas about this as well. For example, the scholar David Breyer writes, quote, "The exaggeration of the importance of the Imam, the stressing of his non-human qualities, and the idea that a new era was beginning were nothing new in Ismaili history, though it remained for Hamza to forge them into an entirely new religion." This new era that he mentions is related to the conceived role of Hakim as al-Mahdi, the messianic figure. So the period of his rule is seen as a turning point in history and a final victory for the doctrine of God's oneness, Tawheed, after which a new era is instigated. However, as we talked about in the intro, al-Hakim suddenly vanished one night in 1021. This played pretty well into established Shia theology, as he was then considered to have gone into occultation, or hiding, as he will return at the end of time. This is a very common theme in Shiism, and one that is held by...
So, is this kind of like, I really don't know, is this kind of like gone into occultation, so hiding, because occult is hidden, occultation, and will return at the end of time to redeem the world? And they're saying that the Mahdi, I know that the Mahdi is like the Messiah type of thing, I guess. So are they saying that instead of Jesus, to them, it's going to be their Mahdi, which is an Imam, and it's not going to be Jesus at the end of times? In Sunni Islam, we believe that Jesus is coming back. Like, we're on board with that with the Christians. Like we believe the same thing. But they're saying kind of like that it's going to be this Imam that comes back.
By many group of Shiites, including the largest Twelver group, who all believe that different Imams are the Mahdi who have gone into occultation and will return. Hakim's successor on the Fatimid throne and the Ismaili Imamate, a guy called Ali al-Zahir, was very different from his father. In fact, he reversed many of the ideas and innovations that Hakim had put in place and completely rejected the group that saw Hakim as a manifestation of God. In other words, the group that we call the Jews today. Here begins a period of great persecution and oppression of this group by the Fatimid caliphs, which would lead to them being more and more distinguished from the larger Ismaili community as its own new movement. And this persecution forced many of the, what we call Jews, into other regions like the Levant, and would also very much affect the theology and worldview that the Jews would hold or develop. Indeed, many argue that this is one of the reasons that in the year 1043, that is 22 years after Hakim's death, missionary work officially ended for the Jewish faith, and after this no converts were ever allowed into the religion. This is of course similar to other religious minority groups that I have discussed in previous videos as well. It seems to be a very sort of returning common theme. Thus, from this moment on, the Jews were confined to the families and the insiders at that point, and so things like marriage outside the faith has been strictly forbidden ever since.
You hear that, Chantal?
Since the Jews are a rather isolated group and much of their teachings are kept secret, we don't really know that much about their beliefs or teachings, and not much scholarly work has been done on it at all. As they stem originally out of Ismaili Islam, they are essentially a monotheistic religion and have a strong emphasis on God's oneness, also known as Tawheed in Arabic. In fact, they have often referred to themselves as the Muwahhidun, which means those who profess monotheism or those who profess oneness. Their view of God is one completely beyond attributes, even essential ones like wisdom and knowledge, as they are seen to be part of his essence, and this is similar to other theological schools within Islam like the Mu'tazila or the Ismailis for that matter.
Okay, but it also says Druze is a term used by outsiders. and is based on the name of Muhammad al-Darazi, who some see as a heretic. So they don't call themselves Druze. Believe God is completely beyond any attributes, being utterly transcendent and beyond any description and imagination.
Focus a lot on mysteries and esoteric teachings and esoteric readings of sacred scriptures like the Quran, which is known as ta'wil, and to exert the hidden meanings of scripture, which is known as batin, through this process of ta'wil. Over the years, the Jews' beliefs have, of course, changed and developed, most probably, and have taken influence and inspiration from many different sources. The Ismailis in the Middle Ages were highly influenced by the philosophical school Neoplatonism, and so we can see in the Jewish faith that this sort of carries over here as well. This means that they have a view of God and creation where the divine emanates in stages, like a fountain where the level above overflows into the one below. God himself transcends this scheme, but the first part of this emanation or fountain is called the universal intellect, and after this there is the universal soul, followed by the word or kalima, which then emanates into the preceder as-sabiq, and finally the successor at-tali.
Okay. Al-Hudud. 5 cosmic principles. Each of these levels is thought to correspond to a certain teacher in the Druze religion. Al-Hakim himself manifests represent God himself, the One, while the universal intellect is the founder, Hamza, for example. So this Hakim guy is considered to have represents or manifests God. Universal intellect is Hamza. Universal soul al-Nafs. Okay, Ismail, the word, the preceder, the successor. This is very complex.
Importantly, while Al-Hakim is seen as a manifestation of God, this should not be confused with them viewing him as an incarnation of God.
Okay.
These are very different concepts.
Okay.
The Jews don't view Hakim in the same way that Christians view Jesus, for example, or Hindus view Krishna or Rama. It's a different perspective. It's a different theological standpoint. They also believe in the transmigration of the soul or reincarnation after death, and this has led some to argue that the Jews have been influenced by religions outside the Middle East, like Hinduism.
Yep.
But in my opinion, this could also be a direct influence from Ismaili Muslim currents. For example, the secretive Ismaili group called the Ikhwan as-Safa, the Brethren of Purity, also believed in a...
We got another group? Okay, I gotta keep moving my owl. We got another group. Okay. Ikhwan means brotherhood. Okay. Ikhwan is brotherhood. Oh, they're saying brethren. Okay. Al-Saf of purity. Okay. And what's this group? They're separate? Different?
Ismaili group called the Ikhwan as-Safa, the Brethren of Purity, also believed in a kind of reincarnation of the soul. Important aspects of this reincarnation teaching of the Jews are that a Druze person who dies is always reborn as a Druze. And so this community is kept intact even after death, as it were. So while the teachings of the Jews are obscure and difficult to pin down,
they got a secret handshake. I'm jealous. Look at this. They got a secret handshake. Hey, the Alexander.
Some scholars have put together certain important themes. H.Z. Hirschberg and others summarize it through 7 articles of faith. 1. Veracity in speech and the truthfulness of the tongue.
Okay.
Protection and mutual aid to the brethren in faith. Renunciation of all forms of former worship and false belief. Repudiation of the devil and all forces of evil.
Iblis.
Confession of God's unity. Acquiescence in God's acts, no matter what they be, absolute submission and resignation to God's divine will in both secret and public. Now, there are different variants of this list, these articles of faith, and different translations and so on, but these are the sort of general articles of faith that the Jews are often said to have. Similar to Muslims, the Jews are encouraged not to drink alcohol or eat any pork. Most of these teachings, obscure and secretive as they may be, stem from canonical sacred texts that the Jews use as their source. These texts are collectively known as Risail al-Hikmah, or the Epistles of Wisdom, of which there are 111 collected into 6 volumes, and probably written sometime in the 13th century. These texts have certainly not been allowed to be accessed by outsiders of this religion. It's only in the last century or so that academics and researchers have been allowed to access some of these texts, but not even all Jews have been allowed to access these texts historically. The Druze community have for many periods of history been divided into those who are considered initiated or wise, known as uqal, and those who are uninitiated or ignorant, juhal. Only those in the initiated group have been allowed to access these sacred texts, possibly in an attempt to keep the teachings from being altered or spread outside of the Druze community. Other religious texts are also important to the Jews, like the Quran, or even the Bible, which they see as to have sort of convey the true teachings of monotheism, but that people have later misinterpreted and corrupted these texts. An interesting example of this is that the opening chapter of the Quran, known as Al-Fatiha, is recited by the imams at Jews' weddings.
Really? What? Okay.
The Jews' house of prayer is called a khalwa and is usually located in the outskirts of Jewish villages. And here a kind of weekly or regular service is usually held on Thursday evenings or Thursday nights, which is attended only by those in the initiated group, the uqal. These buildings are also sometimes used for more community, political, or social events at large. Another common practice of the Jews is to make a pilgrimage to the grave of a prophet or an important holy figure. This is known as a ziyara, much like in Sufism, for example. And one of the most important or most common of these ziyaras or pilgrimages is performed to the grave of the prophet Shu'aib, who is thought to be located in Israel.
Okay.
A holy site like this is called a maqam, which literally means station, and is visited to receive blessings or even things like health or to cure certain illnesses. Much like in other religions, there are also certain holidays or a celebration or events connected to certain important life events like marriage or funerals. Perhaps the most important festival of the year is called Eid al-Adha, not to be confused with the Muslim holiday of the same name.
Okay.
It is preceded by a 10-day period of sort of regret and contemplation, followed by a sacrificial day of festivities, community, and often charity.
Interesting. So they call it the same thing, but it's celebrated very differently. Interesting. Hello, dastardly deeds. How's it going? I'm glad you think so, Mothman Muses. I love it too.
The Jews started around the rule of Al-Hakim in Egypt, but have historically been located primarily in the region known as the Levant, in countries like Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Israel. The relationship between them and the, for the most part, ruling Sunni elite haven't always been that great. There have always been a discussion or debate amongst these Muslim scholars on how the Jews should be conceived or viewed, some viewing them as a very extreme form of Shia Islam, while others see them as apostates and heretics altogether. Needless to say, there have been periods of great persecution, oppression, and unrest within the Jewish community and in their relationship between or with other groups in the region. For example, the famous Hanbali scholar Ibn Taymiyyah, often a hero to modern fundamentalist groups, issued a rather...
That's a very good word, fundamentalist. That is kind of what I was reaching for earlier when we were talking about this guy, Salafi, fundamentalist. Because, yeah, okay, all right, good.
Nasty fatwa in the 14th century where he calls for armed jihad against the group and states that, quote, they are heretics and apostates whose repentance cannot be accepted, rather they should be killed wherever they are found, and they may be cursed because of what they are.
Okay. Good night, Becky W. And on that note, good night, Becky W. Okay.
But it's very important to remember that this is, of course, the most extreme case, and that many Muslim scholars historically and today have favored a more liberal approach and emphasized peaceful coexistence.
Yes, thank you for saying that. So, as I said earlier, the Salafi, and the first Muslims, they call themselves, and very fundamentalist. That is a very good word, because I didn't want to say extremist, because that has connotations of terrorism, and they aren't necessarily. But it is like it's a very hard line. Interesting.
There have been periods during the Ottoman Empire, for example, when the Jews were allowed autonomy and
Oh,
even protection.
okay. Is it Roji or Roji? Hello, Roji. Jews have nothing to do with Shia Islam. I should know. I am a Shia Muslim. Okay. They do seem to have like very specific beliefs for sure. Some of them do not align. Would you like to share more, Roji? Thank you for speaking up.
By the Ottoman Sultan. In the last century, with the appearance of ideologies like nationalism, pan-Arabism, or pan-Islamism, aspects of the Jewish religion have been reconceptualized, and some have emphasized their similarity to Islam and ethnicity as Arabs. But also with the many periods of unrest in the region today, this has led to increased persecution.
I think this is in Syria. See the flag back here? It's the old Syrian flag, I think. So this is their current flag, the Druze. I was watching today. It was the Israel-Syria border, because Israel crossed the border into Syria. And I saw this flag a lot.
In Syria, for example, and the unrest related to it has led to the Jews, among many other religious minorities, being targeted by fundamentalist groups like the Islamic State, who are often inspired by Ibn Taymiyyah and his fatwa that I quoted. But the Jews still remain a pretty strong and...
That's very interesting. So he's saying the Islamic State, ISIS, was... What was the word he used? Inspired? By that guy. This guy. Ibn Taymiyyah, right? This guy. That ISIS is inspired by this guy, the Salafi. Okay? That's an interesting, because look how old this guy was. So ISIS is really like going way, way back in the fundamentals. That's very interesting. I like how he ties everything together.
Protection by the Ottoman Sultan. In the last century, with the appearance of ideologies like state, who are often inspired by Ibn Taymiyyah and his fatwa that I quoted. But the Jews still remain a pretty strong and significant community. An estimate shows that there may be around 1 million Jews in the world today. What we should remember, however, is that the Jews are a complex religious community that has a very long and fascinating history. We know surprisingly little about them and their teachings and practices, much because of their secrecy and historical isolation. And so much of what I've said in this video is very much open for discussion and can be sort of countered by other arguments. For example, many scholars previously have focused on the ethnicity or race of the Jews, trying to make the Jews an ethno-religious community like the Yazidis, for example. But most scholars today agree that the Jews are both ethnically and culturally very diverse. And so these questions of race and ethnicity, scholars don't think that those aspects should be emphasized as much. In any case, there's a lot more we could discuss, but I will leave it here for now and hope this was a good and interesting short introduction.
Definitely.
Let's continue this discussion in the comments as always. And if you want to support this channel, you can like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.
Wow. So I have pinned to the top of the chat is his channel. It's called Let's Talk Religion. Very impressive. That was only 17 minutes. Didn't it feel like 45? It was so dense with information. Oh yeah, I figure his comments must be insane. With like the, nope, you got this wrong. No, it's supposed to be this. I'm sure. Oh my God, this poor guy. Yeah. Yeah, he's got 2,049 comments. That was a pretty bad read of the fatwa, and it's taken out of context, of course. Boy, your Islamic sex video gonna explode in these conflict times. 2025, Shia Druze. Yeah, 2 days ago. Yeah, this video was made 5 years ago. Yep. This would explain the Shia and Sunni and their differences, did you know that the cloth Christ was buried in is blood type AB? Is it? Do we know that? And is also DNA and connected to the Druze. Really? Roji says they're not Muslims, but they only believe in Tawheed and that God is one. Okay, that's the only similarity, huh? Okay. Oh, Roji says, Shia Muslims believe in all 5 pillars of Islam. We pray 5 times a day. We fast Ramadan. We go to Hajj. We do Zakat and Shahadateen. They do not. They do not fast. They do not do Hajj. Okay. Thank you. That's very helpful. Okay, so they believe in one God, and that's kind of where the similarities end, it seems. This person says, oh, look at this. You're a liar. What Ibn Taymiyyah have to do with ISIS? Okay. I'm a Druze. I'm not religious, but I read a little of the Druze book, and I was shocked and trembling all the time while reading from the advanced awareness and wisdom that I saw. But everything is hidden and deliberately presented in contradiction so that it's hard to understand. Oh, I don't like that. Like, why play games? Just put it out there, you know? Why is it going to be so mysterious? As for reincarnation, for me as someone who is inclined towards science, I did not believe that it could be true, except when it happened to one of my relatives, and he remembered something from his previous life and was able to meet his family in his previous life. If it were not for this, I would not have believed. Whoa! Dastardly deeds! Are you serious? I've been telling you for the past 2 months, Jesus Christ was proven to be Druze, Druze, not a Jew. Okay. Hey, I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. Hey, Bellamia. And here we have something that backs up what Roji is saying. Druze are not Muslims. We are closer to the Jewish and Christian, and we are very proud of it. Okay, so this is a Druze person who is saying, we are not Muslim. Okay. And we also have, they are filthy traitors who are pro-Israel and pro-Bashar al-Assad. I was hoping it would go into the Israel connection, too. Like, how did that come about? Who is here because of the recent development in Syria? Yep, that's us. It sounds like the Baha'i religion. They believe in Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, and Hinduism. I looked into Baha'ism, like, when I was young. What is this? Gematria. You guys know about gematria? That's something else. That's pretty, I don't even know. There's a lot to that, gematria. God's code. Interesting. So A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, Z equals 26. So a number assigned to every letter. Natural Born Collector says, yes, it's the truth about gematria. Oh, okay, okay. So you add up the letters. You add up the number, like what place it has in the alphabet, and you add those together. So Jesus is a 74. Okay, so you know all about it, Natural Born Collector? Awesome. Okay. So what okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So J is 10. E is 5, that's 15. S and U and S adds up to 74. Okay. Druze equals 74. Messiah equals 74. The King, Cross, New Life, Gospel, Simple, English, Gematria, Code of God, Bible, Faith, the Omega, Judeans, Q, Army, 26 letters in the alphabet, God equals 26. Add the values of all 26 letters, and the sum is 351. God communicates through numbers, 351. God coded every English alphabet letter, 351. The 26 holy letters, 351. English is 26 letters, 351. Supreme Architect of the Universe. Isn't that thought to be Satan? That's my understanding. 351. The creator of the entire universe, 351. 351, show perfect, intelligent design. God gave us letters A to Z and numbers 0 to 9. 9 is known as the most high number, as it is the highest number in the set. Multiply 9 by any number and it returns a 9. Okay, really? I was right about that? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. It came out because that's what I've always thought, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know if, some things you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that, but that is what I understand. Okay. It's deeper than you think. Oh, I know. I know. Isn't Nation of Islam, doesn't Nation of Islam kind of go along these concepts as well, gematria? We need an AYS study group, yeah. Dastardly Deed says completely different from becoming or following the Jewish religion. Druze can become Jewish, but a Jew cannot become Druze. Okay. Well, I probably don't know nearly as much as you, though, NBC. You know how Nation of Islam, you know a guy who does videos about this? Oh, would you care to share the creator's name, if you know it? Nation of Islam, which I don't even know who's leading that up these days, but it was like Minister Farrakhan. It's really, I wouldn't consider that Islam myself. But they do this number stuff. They do this number kind of thing too. I kind of want to just verify that. Nation of Islam value in gematria is 446. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Gematria decoder is what is this? I guess we're up until 4 in the morning today. Okay, that's fine. Psh, why not? Oh, I think I'm frozen. Oh, shoot. Okay, I think I froze for a sec. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm frozen. I don't know if you can even hear me. Let me look on my phone to see the chat. Oh, you can hear me. Okay, cool. Good night, Heather. Everything froze up. Okay. This gematria just froze up my whole computer. Oh my God. What is this? NBC, you probably know all about this. It's laggy. We got too much knowledge. My computer can't handle it. Like, look at this. This is only a brief reference. Click on Gematria Decoder tab. Okay, they have an app, of course. Okay. The following is a table of words or phrases that start with Z, sorted by English cipher. Is cipher here? Yeah, they have a calculator. That's probably easiest. Okay. So, English, simple, Jewish, Hebrew, reduced, reversed English, reverse simple, reverse reduced. That's more than I know about, way more. Okay. I saw something that was saying what the number for Islam was. Huh. But I think Nation of Islam, I think they use this or something. Because they're always talking about numbers. Like there's so many numbers in this word, and there's also so many numbers in that word, which means this, and yeah. Okay. All right. To know more about the thought of the Unitarians, read the book of Gnosis and Epistle of Disclosure and Clarification. Okay. Armenia, look that up too. See, all comes together. As a young Druze that grew up in the West, I'm learning about my own community in this video. Thank you for making this video. It really means a lot to me. Oh, it's nice. As a convert to Islam, studied all the religions and sects of Muslims. Some Druze were indicated as non-Muslims or anti-Islam. Many of the Palestinians are Druze. There are also two kinds of Ismailis. One is Twelver, Shiite followers of Imam Ismail, brother of Imam Musa Kazim. Due to the fight of Imams dividing people in belief of Imams has divine power, the concept of an imamate was closed after 12 Imams. Oh, wow, that's okay. YouTube recommended this. I don't know why. I had a girlfriend a couple years ago, and her family was Druze from Golan Heights, Syria. Israel currently occupies that. She had a major booty. That thing was serious. Okay. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what's really important. So. Okay. Wow. Okay. I am very hungry, but it's too late to eat. Yeah, thank you guys for putting up with me with postponing the beauty pageant yesterday. I was up a lot of the night Wednesday working on it, and then I woke up Thursday, and I just kept plugging away. My eyes were burning. And then I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, oh my God, no. I don't think I'm going to get this done. And I didn't want to rush it and just throw it together. So thank you for your patience with that. You just had Korean chicken salad. It was awesome. Nice. Thank you. The cat is Jinn. Thank you. I think next year I'm going to start on it earlier. I was not expecting so many entries. I was shocked. We had like 30 something last year, and there were 68 this year. Yeah, I'm gonna start on it earlier because there's other things I can work on before I get the entries. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put it on my calendar because, yeah, it was like I realized it that day when I whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. So yeah, we'll get the winners. We'll get the winners of both AI and human created. We'll have those winners. And I put a crown on each of them. And I make the crown specific for the bird, like it's gonna go with the outfit and everything. And then you'll be on the screen instead of the snowy owl for a month. Hey, BB True. Thank you, Skunk Major. I know, 68. That was crazy. Thanks, Anna Gags. Neo Tarot reader did a reading yesterday, but she said that the spirits were not happy because she was asking again too soon after the last reading. But I don't know. You're going all out next year? BB True, we just had the pageant tonight and voting is open until tomorrow night at midnight. So we don't know yet. And I'll ask, please, if you are just joining, if you missed the beginning of this live stream, please be sure to only vote once. And if you do send out the video to friends or family to vote for you, that's fine. But please ask them to be sure to only vote once. There are duplicate entries, people voting more than once for the same person. And I got a message right away saying that I had exceeded the number of responses and that I wasn't, and that the results were locked unless I upgraded. So I had to pay to upgrade, which is fine because it's like it's once a year, but we're limited for those number of responses. So please, please just vote once, because then we won't even, because I can't upgrade to the next level again. I just can't. Because that's like a business premier membership for I use the thing once a year. And then we won't have the results if it exceeds it. So just go to the video, BB True, and the links are there. So they do allow, it's like a security feature. I can go through and it will identify duplicates that are like, it's coming from, it's not just the same IP address. It doesn't give me the actual IP address, but it says like the device, like whether it was a computer or an Android phone or an iPhone. So it really, and like the time that the vote was selected. So it'll be like boom, 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 all on the same device. So it's pretty clear, you know. Dastardly Deeds, any word if the village kids have infiltrated Chantal's bunker apartment? I don't know. I haven't heard anything. That's okay, Darkest Coven. Don't worry about it. I'm talking about purposeful, like 10 clicks within 30, you know, less than 20 seconds from the same IP, same device, you know? Yeah, like an extra click because you're not sure if it went through or if something goes wonky. That's fine. Yeah. An esoteric monotheistic religion that incorporates elements of other Abrahamic religions, as well as several other philosophies. The Druze, an Arabic-speaking population, view themselves as one people. Okay. Hey, Starry Nights. We should have tagged Tracy and Teardrop so they could have fought over their favorite birdies. What if they entered? They might have entered under a pseudonym. That'd be great. Yeah, don't worry about like one or two, you know, that's like I can filter those out. But yeah, the website is pretty cool. It does, like, I can run reports and everything. So with a premium account, I can do it all. I'm all set. Rooting for the kids. Normally I say swiper, no swiping, but in this case, I'm Team Village Kids. Oh, for sure. Tracy will lose it if she loses to Teardrop. Oh my God, Tracy's kind of... I think Chantal being in Syria is really taking a toll on Tracy. I think it really is. They said Salah in chat was bullying Tracy last night. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it bullying. I think it was more like teasing, and she's extra sensitive right now. And I feel like people weren't picking up on, if they cared. I don't think people were picking up on, like, she's too sensitive to be joking with her like this. Like Salah was like picking on her a little bit, and I don't think he gets that kind of thing. I don't think he's emotionally very intelligent. That she's already like feeling some kind of way, and he's like poking at her saying he's going to take her wrench. I'm like, I don't think this is the right time to be doing that. You're just going to upset her. But he might not care. But yeah, Chantal sent a Whopper to Teardrop. And Tracy was like, I don't need Chantal to send me any money. And Teardrop was like, it was a Whopper. It wasn't money. She's not, I don't know if she's being intentionally, I don't get it, or what. What bird would they be? Tracy would be a guinea, as they are loud, and that would be Tracy. Read my comment. I would think woodpeckers, probably. Woodpeckers. Knock, 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 knock. They are ridiculous. They really are. So, as of now, voting is open until Saturday at midnight Eastern Time. However, I am going to keep an eye on the responses, and if we start getting close to that limit where they're going to make me upgrade again to, because it has another limit, and then I'll have to pay like double the amount, then I'm probably going to shut down voting. Like, I'll give you like an hour like notice or something. So if you do want to vote, I would probably do it by tomorrow, like early evening. Don't wait until midnight, because if it exceeds it, I'm not going to get the results. That'd be bad. Following the collapse of the authoritarian Assad regime in Syria, there have been mixed responses from the Druze community to the interim government headed by former rebel leader Ahmad al-Sharah. Then there's Nicole, man. Nicole. There's something wrong with some of these people. Like, real mental problems. Like, okay, Chantal is in Syria, right? All kinds of stuff going on. Tracy's freaking out. Teardrop's like kind of playing it cool, but whatever, whatever. Nicole's like, someone's banging on my house. I have to call the police. And like, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's exactly it, Saber Nation. Nicole couldn't stand being left out of the drama the other night. It's like, that was exactly it. Weird. But that's also like Teardrop. Oh, my daughter just fell in the shower. She's pregnant, so... Chantal's like, yeah, go. What are you doing? Why are you telling us? Go. Bizarre. If I had someone banging on my... Listen, I'm live and I'm talking to you guys, I'd probably be like, oh my God, someone's banging. But if I was chatting in someone else's chat, do you think I'd be typing that out? Someone is banging on the side of my house and it's late at night. No. I'd be getting up out of my chair, shutting off all the lights, peeking outside, getting the phone. I'm not telling the chat what's going on. How are they going to help me? She just needed some serious attention, I guess. Weird. Yeah, you get tickled at the ones that say she's so brave. Bravery and stupidity are two very different things. Yeah, Nicole was love bombing Chantal. Yeah, sending her super chats. Yeah, that's true, Dang Duck Fit. If someone was banging, the Bark Street Boys would be getting into it. That's right. Nina's also a loony. Yeah. I think the only reason Nina got modded is because she's been sending super chats like every day. Take the pizza delivery, Nicole. Oh, God. Yeah. I actually reposted Chantal's community tab post where she said, she starts talking about her beliefs as a Sunni Muslim. And I just wrote all in caps, like, stop talking about your beliefs while you're there. And I said something like, this isn't about your haters. This is about your life. How can you be that dense? Like, you still don't get it. No one in this community cares about your beliefs, Chantal. Nobody. Literally nobody. It's ridiculous. Oh, just because Salah is Sunni doesn't mean that that's why of course that's why. What else do you know about? Have you looked into anything else and decided for yourself? No. You're going to do what he's doing. Please. I did it for myself. Okay. Well, why didn't you revert when you were with Bibi? Because he's Muslim. Why didn't you revert when you were with Nader for your 2 weeks? He's Muslim. Whoa. Third option, Church of Chantal. You're right. Rule number 1. True. There are several who gripe when people try and express concern, don't work her up, then turn around and bring up reaction channels. That's so true. Who does NBC? The Syrian guy? Which side will people be on? Well, when people bang in her door and ask questions? Yeah. Yeah, she deleted that one. Yeah, it was ridiculous. That guy, I don't know. I think he used to. I don't think he still does. I don't think he cares enough, like, about Chantal and what people are saying about her. He probably watches garlic bread, like, religiously. I would bet. I'll bet he tunes in. Because those are, like, quick videos, too. Get the rundown about the community, the pulse on the community, what they're saying about his wife. Oh my God. And really the only other big news is Dee Dee's single now, and that's very exciting. Yeah, free Dee Dee. Yes. She's free now. Yeah. That's very exciting. Like, what's next for Dee Dee? Yeah, Roji, she doesn't even know what difference is between Shia and Sunni. You're right. Yeah. She's so ignorant and follows him like a sheep. Yeah. Yep. He's back to watching Pulpy, calling the CPAP Pappy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can tell different things that they say, who they're watching. Yeah. You think that was a mistake to post a full-chested statement about religious persecution while fighting groups are riding around boldly hunting people for the very thing you just publicly disagreed with? She's so dumb. It's beyond dumb. Like, it has not been instilled in her. Like, I learned pretty quickly in Egypt, but you just keep your mouth shut. I wouldn't even post on Facebook what was, like, happening or what I thought. Nothing. Like, no. Why? You're still there. Why would you do that? Ugh. And that was just being under a president that didn't tolerate any kind of dissent. Like, we didn't really have terrorist groups running around. So stupid. And even then, just a president who doesn't want people speaking out about him, it's like they'll come get you in the middle of the night and take you underground. No joke. Like, and that's just a president. Chantal's dealing with, like, I forget what the last number I saw was, like 20? Like 20 different factions, like the Bedouin and like different, there's like all these different Bedouin groups. And like, I mean, there is no right answer. There is no right way to speak about anything. Therefore, shut your mouth. Nothing good can come from you speaking about anything. Just stop. How she does not get that into her thick skull. And she's putting, if she's staying with the lost family, she's putting all of them in danger by just being herself. It's so obnoxious. Right, Angela? I've lost track of how many times she's so dumb has crossed my mind while watching her over the last week. Ridiculous. Like, how do you stay so willfully ignorant? She knows that Salah is not the brightest bulb. She knows that. Why would she rely solely on him to provide her with information as to what's going on around them? Right, not like she's inconspicuous, right. Got that light shining bright live streaming after 1 a.m., yeah. She believes she's untouchable. Sabin Nation and Dying Duckfit just said that at the same time. Yeah, she thinks she's untouchable. It's not that she has no idea what's going on. She doesn't want to know the reality. I don't know. I think it's both. Yeah, Susie Q. She thinks Canada's going to save her. Okay. Yeah. Delulu is a Solulu. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I guess ignorance is bliss, right? People who worry about real life, tend to be stressed out. She's not stressed out. She's not stressed. She's just worried about when the next time she can go get some fried chicken. Roasted chicken. That's all. Yeah. It's just insanity. I'm safe, guys. Yeah. Today you are. Okay, good. Good for you. I don't know. It's true love. The cat is Jinn. That's true. It is. It is. You're right. You're right. I'm just a hater. I'm basically just jealous. You're right. Right, Tasha? I'll just tell myself it's fireworks. Like, the dumb look on her face when she even said that. It's like you're sinking into insanity as you speak. It's like just the look on her face. Like, you're no longer here, are you? What? Right. Can't understand why her generator isn't lasting and her running too many things. Oh my God. The two of them in that solar panel. Like, he doesn't understand how it works. So he's just trying to mansplain something that he doesn't even get himself. And she's like, oh, yeah. I get it. I'm not dumb, Salah. I understand. And then she's like, how come there's not enough juice for my CPAP? Is there? I need my CPAP, Salah. And he's doing that goofy ass laugh. And she's dead tired and just wants to put her mask on and go to sleep. Oh my God. And he's like, it takes too much. No, you can't, no. You were swearing at them. That's not how it works. Yeah, they're never going to have enough battery for an air fryer. Not at all. Real life Dumb and Dumber. They really are. Ridiculous. It is almost painful to watch. It is. It is. And she says, like, when it's nighttime, I don't even remember. It was so like opposite of how things work with solar. Like, oh, everything's just gonna turn on because it's nighttime or something. Like, what? You gotta charge it, Chantal. You're charging it with the sun. You gotta let it charge. It doesn't just turn on when the sun hits it. Oh my God. Shouldn't have pizza chips in her grocery haul. That's a travesty. That's how you really know she's roughing it. No pizza chips. Oh my God. Foodie decided to take a Temu Ocean Gate experience, sugar. Oh my God. Oh. So dumb. So dumb. Yeah, she runs her stuff all day. Yeah. When we have to use our gas generator and you plug certain things in, you can hear that thing groan under the drain, right? Same with the solar, you have to plan, not just hope for the best. I mean, it might take time to adjust and figure things out, but like they're still just completely clueless. 2 full weeks. They're like, I don't know. Then people in the chat are like trying to help them. Trying to help. Like, well, you know, what about this or that? And she'll be like, it's solar. It's solar. We have solar, okay? Yeah, people understand that. They're trying to tell you. That fan is on 24/7. It is. I don't understand why she's on her wackadoo schedule and doesn't sleep at night by her crazy frog. Yeah. I don't know. Just keep running that industrial fan. How miserable. Miserable. Ugh. Yeah, they should be researching how many watts things take. You think they're running 3 fans? Oh my God. That's okay, Lord Baroque. You're fine. I've been reading them here and there. You're fine. Ugh, NBC. I mean, she's in a like, I just, so much of it reminds me of, you know, during the Egyptian Revolution, like we could not leave the house. And we only had to worry about one group of people, and that was the police force. That's all we had to, I mean, it's, you know, it's not a small thing. And the criminals that were released from the prison and the police, that was it. We didn't have foreign countries coming in and bombing us. We didn't have all of these tribal groups and we didn't have that. We didn't have nearly as much to worry about as she does, and we were like hunkered down. You know, they're going at each other off camera. The couple that sweats together stays together, right? That's right, Angela. You had Salah's real estate office created. Now we need Chantal's live streaming set up inside a wind tunnel. Inside a wind tunnel. In front of a jet engine. Have I been to Bahrain? No, I have not. No, I haven't been to other countries. No. No other Arab countries. No. When I mentioned my friend from New York, well, she was my friend from New York that lived in Egypt. She moved to Bahrain with her partner. They lived there for a couple of years too. He's like an investment banker he's from the UK. It's easy to figure out watts in usage. Yeah. And they also have access to the internet. True. Almost caught up, not Sarah Lee? Okay. Yeah, and like my ex's cousin lived in Bahrain for a little while. He's a physician. That's all I know about it, really. But my friend from New York, oh my God, because I went to their house a few times in Cairo, and it was nice. But like in Bahrain, oh, it looks like a palace. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. Hmm. Oh, I don't know how this is gonna play out. I really don't. With Chantal, I really don't. This whole like, I'm not afraid to die. I'm not going to leave my husband and my family and my daughter, Julia. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. Bahrain is small but so pretty and has the friendliest people. That's awesome, Roji. I'm glad you're here. Foodie can't sleep because Celeste's perfume business is tanking. Well, did you see in her grocery haul, she got some like air freshener? Some Febreze type stuff? It's like, where's the Beezer spray? Doesn't he own a fragrance factory? Why are you buying Febreze, ma'am? You have to go outside again, sir? It's kind of late. Are you sure? You're going to need your flashlight on, I think. You want to put your flashlight on? So cute. You're afraid it's going to end badly? I know. I know. She's so, I mean, it's ridiculous. Really ridiculous. Everybody, I'm going to head out. I'm going to let Mr. Bark Street Boy outside. I'm going to put his flashlight on his collar. He's going to walk around, illuminating his path to find the perfect place to squat. And then we'll go to bed. You guys, thank you so much for hanging out tonight and just kind of going with the flow. I love that. And thank you for entering the beauty pageant and for voting. It's wonderful. I appreciate that. Oh, you know I'm gonna sing. You know I am, NBC. We have a whole that's how he knows. I do make up little songs so they know what the deal is. Okay. He's staring at me. Okay, everyone, have a great rest of your day or night, and I'll keep you updated with the voting and results and all of that. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.